Let me show these suckers how to ball out here. Oh, man, let's get this together here. Oh, layup. Oh, shot. Oh, three. Oh, it's like Brick City out here. Mid-range. Oh, my goodness. I can't buy a bucket out here. I missed the whole damn basket. Oh, my goodness. What's going on, man? My game is looking trash. Oh, here we go. Black Power Media shirt. Now we cooking. Trees. I'm taking on three of y'all with these right here. Between the legs. Oh, my goodness. Behind the back. Layup. Oh, did he just do a reverse? He is in beast mode out here. I ain't got to look. It's falling. Oh, my goodness. This guy is going 3, 2, 1. Kobe. Nice. Black Power Media, baby. Nice. Empower yourself. Go get you some of that Black Power Media again. Right here, blackpowermedia.org. Yeah.
You got to earn your liberation.
Yes. Back again. What's up, fellas? What's up, world? Earn Your
What's
Liberation,
happening?
episode 60. It's 60.
Yo, did you pick that picture on purpose? The Hustle Man picture, Nipsey Hustle, because it's very convenient for our topics today.
It worked out, but I tell you, the methodology is not that deep. Every week, I just put in a search for a number that we're on, and then out of what comes up, I try to find maybe what's the funniest, what's the most eye-popping, grabbing, and that was one of them. So it did work out nicely timed, but
so these lyrics didn't influence you. I ain't nothing like you, rap ninjas. Hustle Man, a shooter. That's a fact, ninja. That didn't inspire you? Oh, okay.
Fuck a thug life. Die being unlawful.
It's just acting, Diallo. It's just acting. It's not, it's acting. It's not real.
What's acting in particular?
When he says, I'm nothing like you rap ninjas, Hustle Man, a shooter, that's a fact, ninja. That's just, he's not really a shooter, Diallo. I mean, you have to know that it's cosplay and yeah, he ain't really a Crip 60 and none of that stuff. He was an actor.
Wow.
That's what Killer Mike said. What you wild me for?
Cutley said that?
Yeah, colors. Yeah, they don't be meaning that stuff, man. Come on, man. Stop taking them seriously. That's why they getting indicted and stuff. But anyway, I just thought Jared was being very strategic with his placement of pictures. But
it's not that deep.
Nipsey got some verses. Nipsey got some verses. I'm gonna tell you that right now.
Just quickly off the top, please, everybody, as you see scrolling along the bottom there, Daruba continues to need our support. This world of unhealth care is not conducive to revolutionaries who are aging. And there is no, as far as we're aware, outside of Kamal's mutual aid fund, there's not much of a pension plan for revolutionaries. So
that's why Dave Chappelle said he wouldn't join us in our struggle.
He did. You're right.
That's why Dave said he wants no part of our Black liberation struggle. He said,
that's why Mike said we need capitalists, right? So because
how comedians tend to have very positive fates, how things turn out, for comedians as opposed to people who make positive contributions to their people's struggles. So
wait, I don't mean to break our rule here, but please, Jade Curvo, send me the link. What? Or what?
Oh.
Please send me the link. I mix what I like at Gmail.
Damn.
Good Lord. So
don't be nervous, Jared. You don't know if your name. Calm down. First, see what it is before you start getting nervous.
Don't do that.
That's
don't
not
do
right.
That.
Yeah,
what I'm thinking, actually, don't do that. Don't do that.
I'm just saying, be cool. Just play it cool.
Don't do that.
I'll DM you. Talk to me off the air. It's not funny. You don't joke about such things.
See, Diallo don't know. His punchlines just, they don't be punching sometimes, but he's still swinging.
I'm not. No.
Let's not do that. What I was thinking was that seeing this was something about administration. You know, the president sent out another university-wide statement last week or earlier this week, basically again reiterating the warning to students about their protests on campus. And they sent out even part of the message has a map of the campus on it with the specific area encircled in between the student center and the gym where you're allowed to gather. And then even within that, there are rules he was reminding everyone. And Ricky is right. Shout out to Black Underground, who are likely the primary targets of this, and who are in some ways, you know, looking to find the right and appropriate and how to best respond. So it is absolutely meant as a scare tactic. It came across that way. Students in my classes this week all had a similar reaction to it. And there were some even vigorous questions around, is this even legal? Where does the law begin and end on public university spaces around free speech, assembly? What are the rights of the university?
Zionism is above the law.
Well, that's definitely
God's chosen.
been part of the feeling. Yeah.
International law, local laws, university policies, U.S. Constitution, all that gets set to the side when it comes to God's prophecies.
Yeah, no, that's real. So, but yeah, so that's what I was thinking when I first saw something about admin. I'm thinking, here we go. What now? And but so, you know, stay tuned. When I had to I had to be honest when a few students in my classes were asking what I thought should be the response, that I gave very measured and disappointing answers, all of which encouraged everybody to stay within. The most I said was, you can find creative ways to stay within what is said to be the regulation. But you know, I told them, you know, depending on what it is you want to do, just make sure your preparations are there. Make sure you have legal support to the extent you can. Make sure you have outside support to the extent you can. And I see you shaking your head. I mean, I'm not mad at you. I mean, but it was, and I told them, we had a very, in all of my classes this week, very
tapered down 10.
Yeah. And I said, look, you got, I said, you got to be careful asking me for advice.
Our future leaders.
That's it. And I actually evoked some of I said, look, this is why Ella Baker was right when she told Martin and them to move out the way for the young. Because you don't want I was like, you don't want my answers. I'm 52 with tenure and a bad back. I said, you know, what I was doing in my 20s and what I was willing to do in my 30s, I'm not going to advocate for you to do. And you know, beware, you know, think about the consequences, think about how the overall value of what it is you want to do. And then, you know, yeah, but there's zero chance I'm going to publicly in a classroom or via text or in email advocate that anybody do something outside of what is said to be policy. There's just zero chance I would do that.
I think you got to be strategic, you know, but you got to tell the youth the truth as well.
I mean, that's what I did. I think I think the truths were told in terms of what is going on and why this is all being said and what is actually required to make change versus what I'm doing or advocating. But also I think part of that truth is, especially looking back, there is truth to be told around isolation and who gets punished and who doesn't. And then 20 years later, who's where after what actions were taken when. And I had a lot of, I was very open, very honest about it. But in the end, you're right. I'm not going to, in front of an open classroom of students or in response to text messages and emails, say, yo, break rules. I'm not doing that. So
the tiptoeing tens.
But we can come back to that. I see we have a very special guest joining us in a minute. We can come back to that. And but yeah, and absolutely right. You're absolutely. I'm with all of that. I'm with all of that.
I'm just trying to figure it out because we were made promises about these Negroes. We polished these Negroes and ship them off. They were supposed to return to us as pillars, as scions. We've been waiting over 100 years.
So all of our
HBCUs to turn out our men of big affairs. Remember, weren't we promised?
Yeah.
Weren't we promised men of big affairs from the HBCUs?
Well, Jared's still working on that. So hey, all of our topics gonna run right in together perfectly. With our guest starting us off. So Diallo, please introduce our guest and we can get into some dialogue.
All right. Well, we have Sheun, who's been attacking some of our some of our talentless tents, some of our demerit tiptoe tampered down tents, calling out some of the icons of the culture, and just really hurting people's feelings. That there he is. Sheun,
peace. Welcome. It's a pleasure. Good to meet you virtually, and look forward to the conversation. Welcome.
The pleasure is all mine. What's his handle again on YouTube? I'm watching this guy, FD Signifier, and he's interviewing you a lot on his what would I call it? Like a
platform, his show.
Yeah. I really appreciate your views on there as well.
Well, thank you very much. That's an honor. I appreciate that, and I appreciate your work. Obviously, the legacy you represent, and some of this, as you were saying, as Geechee was saying, some of your views of or Diallo, your views of the talentless tenth.
Funny enough, I don't even think that they are talentless. I think they got some talent. I just think the vetting process in the entertainment industry, I'm more and more convinced. First, I'm convinced there's a vetting process. And I'm more and more convinced that they have to find some innate evil and something in you before you are like, say, okay, let him in. This one will serve us well.
Right.
Because I see people, because being a musician myself, I see the talent. Maybe the talent is not as huge as they claim it is. That's another conversation for another day. I see the talent, and sometimes I'm like, why would you rather do this with this? You could be so much better. But anyway, to each his own, as they say. But what I don't like is, yes, there's this big field that everybody can play on that is called African culture. Well, we call it black. The misnomer is black culture, right? But African culture, and everybody can play on this playground, do what they like, piss on this playground, shit on this playground, do whatever, but you just get to an extent when you start, like really trying to uproot just really loud, trying to destroy, the playground is dirty, we're not getting around to clean it yet, I understand, but we're not going to let you shut it down. That's what I'm saying. We're not going to let you shut it down. We're going to get around to cleaning it at some point,
Right. Can we get to the specific controversy? You got the link, Geechee?
And yeah, anyway, by the way, in Nigeria, this is not a controversy.
Okay, right.
I have jumped on Ye one time. Wait, let me jump in this, because I'm jet lagged. I told you I'm going to be on here like Ye. You don't tell me nothing, bro. I know everything.
Yo, I admitted that. I said it's
I'm
here.
not
Yeah,
slept
this
in a
is
day.
limited to the
I'm
stage.
wired.
Right, because
Waiting for
when you
So-
yeah, right. But-
So first, Diallo, introduce our brother to the people who don't know him.
We
And
don't
then-
deal with the people who don't know him.
Well, yes, we do. You don't, but we do.
Associate with such folks.
That's your problem right now. That's why we can't get into nice spaces
They
now,
hate
because
from
we don't
outside
have.
the culture. They can't get in.
Introduce our good brother properly.
I thought
Give
I
him
did.
this.
Okay.
Put some
Sheun
respect on his
Kuti,
name.
everyone. Sheun Kuti, international superstar, revolutionary Pan-Africanist, and somebody who stands on cooperatives. And thank you.
We had to give him a little something over that.
Thank you very much.
I mean,
Diallo don't know how to treat his friend.
Diallo just no welcome.
I know that says a lot
no.
about me. If Diallo is one of my best friends,
That's how you know.
Listen,
What? What more? What? I said it. You know, I don't like giving people compliments.
so there's been this new spinning. I think you had did an old interview, and some stuff got about Kanye's statement about we're black, we're not Africans, and I think you needed to give him some of this.
I didn't do an interview. This is what we call journalism today. Somebody just went on my Instagram story and took it, because I just said it on my Instagram, because
Okay.
I saw his video, and basically, in Nigeria, this didn't make the news like this. Yeah, so that's what I did, and that's where the whole story came from. Apparently, in Nigeria, it's nothing. Nobody gives a flying whatever about what this is. I didn't even know it was a thing. About 5 years ago, I called him out, and that was a thing globally. Oh my God. I was reveling in that. I enjoyed that so much. He even sent one of his goons to Lagos to try and bring me in. Like, I didn't say it because I wanted to be his friend. I don't want to be Kanye's friend. Diallo is already my friend. I already have Diallo as a friend. Imagine me being friends with Kanye too.
What's the point? Once you got Diallo in the crew, what's the point?
Exactly.
It's about a billion points difference.
About 5 years
About a
ago,
billion.
he did a post where he said, "Oh, I'm currently possessed by the spirit of Bob Marley, by the spirit of Malcolm X, by the spirit of Fela Kuti." So I jumped on my Instagram immediately. I was like, "Let's say, world, on behalf of the Kuti family, our father's spirit is nowhere near this man."
Water don't get no enemy, but Kanye do.
Yeah, he just finished his whole Confederacy flag wearing, it was just becoming that, So, and one of the things that I do not like about the African elites globally, be it the ones that are in America, the ones in Africa, South America, the ones that really make it to this elite status in the world, they're not the petit bourgeoisie, basically. When it comes to their people, is the only time they ignore science, because science matters a lot to these Africans more than anything else. It matters to them more than their culture. It matters to them more than their intuition. In fact, the petit bourgeoisie African is not a scientist. He practices scientism, believes that this white man's thing is the only way to know anything. So for everything in their life, in fact, when it comes to the development of Africa, they break it down scientifically, meaning they use economic theories to tell us why we cannot develop, because profit cannot be made from our development. This is how much these people believe in science. But when it comes to African identity, history, accomplishments, suddenly they are willing to forgo science. Science is not so important anymore. Now you hear these people talking about they believe the aliens built the pyramids. Suddenly, everybody, all these black elites, they do that. So they start to talk. Now they go deep. Now they're ready to be deep to discredit Africans, how they didn't come from Egypt and all this Indian thing. And even the indigenous people of America, and this is where this Kanye West. Well, in my life, if you go on my live a lot, Kanye for me, I don't call his name. He's he who must not be named. That's what I say. That's how much I want black consciousness to erase this guy. On my life is he who must not be named. You understand what I'm saying? So I say he who must not be named is willing to call these indigenous people Indians, just the way white supremacists did. Doesn't he know they are not Indians? Even though you want to identify as them, in 2024, is Kanye West trying to tell me he doesn't know the feelings of the indigenous people of America about being called Indians of any sort, red, white, whatever kind of Indian? So that already shows this man's state of mind. And like Diallo has pointed out many times, this is not mental sickness. You don't disrespect oppressed people. Disrespecting oppressed people is not a symptom of mental illness. I'm sorry. They are not Indians. They even like to call themselves First Nation people. They have this Indian thing is a racist trope. They don't want to be called that. So why is he using we are all Indians? And if even the so-called Indians do a DNA, they probably have African in them. Kanye West should go do a DNA test. Oh, this is the only time the DNA test ain't gonna be accurate.
It's a coon hybrid.
That's what. Just go do a DNA test. All these Africans that are saying they are not from Africa, they are not Africans. Do a DNA test and show us your DNA test. Let's see you are 75% Inca, 25% Jewish. Swedish. I'm sure they'll love that shit. Let's see this DNA test. So, and mainstream media has made this in such a way that the people, the poorest of Africans, that means the masses of African people, because the majority of us are poor, only have access to mainstream media. That is what is crazy in this world. That the people that need the information the most are the people that cannot gain access to it because the system has made it so niche that you have to pay for it. So we are left with people like Kanye educating the young. Why this system continuously silences the real voices that want to spread positivity, growth, togetherness. In fact, the utopic word of unity, I would say, because I don't really, the way I see unity, I don't think people see it that way, but anyway. So that for me was the thing, and that this man is still giving this platform, this voice, and everybody just looking at him. Nobody wants to stand up to him and at least tell him, you don't have to disparage us or destroy anything that is African, or for you to do what you got to do, do what you got to do. And I don't know how people can follow this man. I say to everybody, if I close my eyes and you put a blindfold on me and I can't see and Kanye West speaks, how do I separate him from a white supremacist? When he's going off on the Jews and I said, he sounds like a white supremacist. Malcolm X, as aggressive as he was, if you close my eyes, there's nothing that Malcolm X says that a white supremacist can repeat. There's nothing that John Henry Clark says that a white supremacist can repeat.
Except
There's
that he
nothing
hated
Amos Wilson.
Arabs.
It's true. There's nothing Amos Wilson will say that that Trump can say. Trump can't say anything Amos Wilson will say. It's impossible, at least in the context that Amos Wilson will say it. But Trump and Kanye's words can be interchanged, man. Easy. Trump and Kanye West's words and the words of the head of the Ku Klux Klan can be interchanged, man.
But that's fifth dimensional chess.
That's the chess I'm playing.
That's 4D chess. Because that's the way. I mean, but I do think, as you said, Amos Wilson said when a person rises to a position of prominence within the psychology, not just is in a physical space of leadership or prominence or popularity, but holds real estate within our minds. You know, they are actually speaking to something within ourselves. It's when Dr. King, he said, you know, gave his vision. When I have a dream that little white boys and little black boys will walk hand in hand, he was speaking to a longing within African people that we didn't want to acknowledge ourselves, our just deep, deep desire to be in proximity to our oppressors, to be one with our oppressors. So I think Kanye is speaking to some deep, deep psychological, ingrained mental self-rejection, self-hate, and aspirations to be like Trump. He said, Trump is my daddy, and when I put this hat on, I feel like I have superpower to be able, that chauvinistic representation of power and total disregard for anything and anyone, you know, being able to hand select who's worthy and who's unworthy. And I think many of our people define freedom and power and liberation in being able to navigate and move through the world like Trump. Or as Kanye said, I love Hitler.
Doing whatever they want. That's basically what we think freedom. This is what the oppressors want the people to think what freedom is. What freedom is, the right to do whatever you want. But true freedom is self-discipline. Your ability to restrain yourself is freedom. Freedom is the ability to do the things that are hard. Freedom is the ability, the energy, the strength to make the tough choice. That is freedom. When you misbehave, I'm not saying no okay to misbehave, man. I love to misbehave. Ask Diallo, man. Listen, I'm trying to get Diallo to misbehave with me. This guy is strong-willed, bro. I'm trying to drag him into the dungeons, man. This guy is like, nigga. I'm gonna float up here. You ain't taking me down with you. Yeah, but you know, what I don't do is I don't make that the totality of my being. I don't want it to be all that I'm about. Yes, this world is so vast, it's so beautiful, it's so crazy. There's so many experiences. And I don't want anybody to leave this world without at least experiencing as many of the things, both bad and good, as you can experience in this world. At least that you can get away with unscathed or at least alive. You know. But it's a different thing when you just like completely want to be that kind of, you know, I don't even know the word to use in English. In my language, it's called an agbaya. You know, just somebody that just completely hedonistic, self-centered, you know, just about you, just the easy things. You want to disrespect people because it's easier than actually acknowledging people. You know, you want to be screaming people down your right all the time because you just don't want to, because learning is hard. Learning is fucking hard. I know that. You know, that's why Kanye West said, I don't read books. Listen, I'm not surprised. Learning is hard. You know, you have to be free to want to learn. Wanting to learn is one of the, I think is the biggest characteristic of a free person, someone that is truly on the path of freedom or has reached some kind of freedom in their consciousness or in their being. You know, when you look at Joe Biden, even Bernie Sanders, you look at Rishi Sunak in England, you look at all these so-called, you can tell that they are not free. They can't make tough choices. They can't speak their mind. But they can blow up the whole country and commit genocide and do all this just because they can. But they can never make the tough choices that the world needs because they are not free. Only free people can do that. And what Kanye West is doing is teaching our young people how not to be free. He wants them to be free the way the white man has explained freedom to us. The ability to self-destruct.
Shayun, I wonder if you saw any of this new movie about Bob Marley. And so I see in the chat people say Kanye Daddy was a Black Panther. We know your father struggled with us, and Bob Marley did. But in terms of like it's the children of our ancestors who put in work. Have you seen any of the Bob Marley stuff? Do you have any thoughts around some of the positions that his kids? I know one of his son is a staunch Zionist, but any thoughts about that?
Well, you know, I don't really have a personal relationship with Ziggy. You know, there's no need to hide his name. You know, actually, I'm in Australia right now, and we're going to play a show together. You know, and I don't know him. I know I'm releasing a song with Damien in a couple. I know him. I met him once. I don't want to say I know him. We're not like the best of friends. We don't call each other every day, but we're cool. Yeah, I mean, to each his own. I'm also not in the, how would I put it, let musicians save the world business, because I think it's a cop out for all the real people that have to change the world. You know, these are the African doctors all over the world, the African lawyers all over the world, the African judges all over the world, the African engineers all over the world. These people that have the true nation building skills, who chicken out from their responsibility and blame Lil Yachty for not fighting for the rights of Americans, of African Americans, or Africans in America, rather. You know, I believe that there's no amount of music that I can make or the whole musicians can make if the lawyers don't care about justice. If African lawyers don't care about justice, nothing will change. If African doctors don't care about the health of African people, nothing will change. If African engineers don't imagine how to recreate, rebuild, restore, re-engineer the African continent, if African bankers are not thinking of how to eradicate African poverty, if they are all tied to this capitalist, selfish, greedy costs that they are on, then, I mean, what else do we want to do that Bob Marley has not done musically or Fela has not done musically? I think, in fact, as African musicians, we've played our part. All of us should be Lil Yachty right now and just be looking at you lawyers and journalists who don't care about the truth. We should just be looking at you like, man, when are you going to key into this message we've dropped like 40 years ago? When are you going to key into Fela's message and Bob's message? You know, when are you, when are you going to key into Peter Tosh's message? You know, like, we just be like, but we musicians are not like that. You know, we are, we are understanding people. You know, we are artists. So we go along with you guys and we keep making this song still, you know, with no support and, no recognition really, and we're just against the grain because we are trying to speak positivity to our people, and our people are being told that they need to self-destruct. And for some reason, they buy in the message that self-destruction is development, So, yeah, that's the catch-22. It's not a artist issue. It's a African professional issue. And this is from somebody coming from Nigeria, where our professionals are not any different because we are all educated under the same system. In fact, it's even worse for the colonized, because the colonized, his enemy is disguised. Ooh, please, I have to write that down. I'm sorry. I'm a musician, remember? I still have to pay the bills. The colonized enemy is disguised.
Can we make
I
the
think the
liner
three of
notes
us should
though?
get a credit on that one.
That's what I was gonna say. Can EYL make the liner notes on
I
that
would
joint?
write.
Executive produced by EYL.
I would write on the back of the song that the three of you were there when I wrote it. Don't worry, you get your credit. You all were there when I came up with it. Don't worry.
That's all. That's it.
I just
That's
need
all the
I just
props
need
right
my
there.
royalty structure all good. That's all I need. I said
When y'all are fighting like this, it means it's a really good line.
Hey,
I just know it's a good line.
Shayun, could you make sure that I was the one that threw the alley hoop, because they was just sitting and spectating?
Yeah.
I threw the alley hoop with the question. So yeah,
You got it. You got the alley. You got
yeah, our
the
pay
assist.
structure got to be a little bit different. I don't.
Nah, man, you gotta note the importance of letting room with silence. Sitting quietly and letting the ideas germinate.
Anyway, guys, so you find that many of the greatest African scholars are from United States of America. Why? Why is that the case? Why is John Henry Clark not right in the fact that the quality of life of African people is worse than the quality of life of Africans in America? But John Henry Clark and Amos Wilson and Frantz Fanon did not emanate from the continent of Africa. How come? Because Africans we don't know, everything is black. We think we are free. The schools are all owned by black people. All the teachers are black. All the banks are black. All the administrations are black. All the institutions are black run. That's why I look at Africa. I look at Africans in America when they are fighting for black-owned banks.
Right.
I'm like,
yeah, we're trying to catch up. But just for the record, just for the record, Dr. Clark had his own answer for that question, though. Clark's answer to that question was that the continent was too busy dealing with the direct throes of enslavement and colonization, and those in the diaspora, a handful of us in the diaspora, had proximity to centers of power where there was enough room to finally take some time. Because he would say, what African in the world in this 18th and 19th century had time to go to the library? So in fact, he gave credit.
These guys were busy. They were busy translating the Bible to Yoruba.
Okay,
that's what they were doing with their own access.
I'm just saying what Clark said himself. I hear you. I'm just giving you what Clark's version was. Yes, I hear you. All right.
I would not argue with the great teacher from the beyond, but he couldn't have known everything. My grandfather was one of these people, man. I'm telling you, these guys had access. They were busy cementing the oppression of their own people with their educational activities, and with their scholarly activities,
Ooh.
For them, translations and rewriting European stories into African story with African context, and moving our culture and they had a huge job also of Americanizing our educational system. Man, these guys were busy cementing neocolonialism in Africa and working for the colonial system. Listen, I believe it's because African Americans could see clearly that they were under the oppression of others. I'm not talking about the 18th century. I'm talking about immediately after independence, when we thought we were free. You understand? Many Africans believe this, that they were free, because they were being now so, ruled by people that look like them. Every school was black. Every principal was black. President's black. Ministers black. Every police officer is black. Blackity black. No white man has ever been shot in Nigeria before by the police. 0 casualty. Do you know how many Nigerians are shot every week by the Nigerian police on the streets?
Black cop.
So when I see my cousins in the United States believing the lies of the African elites there, as if their representation will change the outcome for the African people there, I see our real disconnect. That we don't even see ourselves. We don't see our existence. All the banks in my country are black. I dare you to go and get a loan. Any of you here, I dare you, go to Nigeria, go and get a loan. Say it's a black bank. But white people are walking out with millions of dollars in loans there every day. White corporations. So in fact, some of them are coming to it. They are foreign investors, but they are living with debt, living our banks in debt and leaving the country. Nothing is happening to them. So when people fight for representation in America, I say we don't have a real understanding of the system. People are still hung over with who is running this system that the institutions itself are built to exploit and exclude Africans. This is the foundation of these institutions. Wherever these institutions erect themselves anywhere in the world, Jesus Christ could come and run it, and Buddha. They should put the Buddha in charge of the police precinct in New York and see what happens. If black people will not still be shot on the street, mass incarceration. I mean, listen, it is what it is. And until we see it that way. So I believe that one of the reasons why neocolonialism could be strong in Africa that way, and even the reason why colonialism lasted that long, was the African petty bourgeoisie, who is the spiritual, the African slaver, rather, what's his name called them? Chiwenzu. You have to understand that they were black slavers, and these are the spiritual ancestors and physical ancestors of today's African elites. Many of the leaders in my country, many of the people in the military as generals and juggernauts retired that control the military from the background, many of the so-called billionaires and businessmen that people they talk about on the news, the Africa's richest black man in the world, these Africans that come to, are all slave traders, descendants of slave traders. These were the people that connived actively to subvert and subdue our societies. And that's why till today, they can never reimagine an Africa that is truly free, because that Africa will have to look into their actions.
So soon
when
we're gonna have a verse. We're gonna have a
AKA
verse with you and what's this guy named Kanye soon.
I think we've put
We're
that
gonna hope.
nonsense to bed. Well, I tuned out since he came on here and tried to tell everybody I don't get lit, that I can't get lit. I mean,
you don't, man. I tried to
didn't
get
nobody
you,
ask
but
you? Didn't nobody even ask you about that?
That man eat Reese's cups and drink wine. He's lit.
Yeah, I get litty. I mean, I don't even know how that worked itself into the conversation, but
And he catch contact when he around me and Jared, but it's all good.
I don't. I stay masked up. But beyond that, I'm just saying, I get litty when the time comes. In appropriate moments, I get lit.
I haven't seen it, is all I'm saying.
I shut down the shrine in Harlem. I shut that shit down, but okay.
Yeah, that was true though. You shut it down. Okay. I saw it one time. One time
is enough. Y'all couldn't handle 2 times.
That was a fun night though. That was a fun night. We ruled
Harlem. Shut it down.
Yeah.
All of Harlem. But nah, I don't get lit. But okay. Starting rumors. Let's get to the topic.
Our revolutionaries arguing right here about getting lit. Is this what we're doing now?
Yeah. You start. You the one.
Nkrumah is turning in his grave, bro.
Nkrumah and Dr. Clark used to get lit.
Nkrumah got
Professor Mackey, Dale Jones.
Yeah,
please, these were human beings. These were not.
What was their study? What was their study group? What was the blind study group? Blind Society.
Blind Society.
Yeah.
Harlem History Club. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But brother Sayun, thank you for coming through and blessing us. You're welcome back all the time, anytime. Even if you want to replace Diallo, we actually looking for a Diallo replacement.
Don't come on here lying on people. Just tell the
truth.
Listen,
I would happily replace Diallo, but the issue is I still have to be his friend.
Oh, I mean, that's fine. We
I
don't.
think you'd be more affordable too. This might help us save some
you
money
replace
around
me,
here.
and I'm gonna replace you because I got a whole book of lyrics. I just
Oh,
don't want to
wow.
shut down the industry.
Oh wow.
Ice-T.
I don't want to
Just
get
make
out
sure the
there.
cameras are rolling when you
Step
bring
on
Diallo
you.
out on stage. Just make sure the cameras are rolling.
I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do that. You know, I'm coming to Chicago, bro. I'm coming to Chicago in July.
Chicago in July, huh? All
Yeah,
right.
get ready.
So we're gonna have an EYL broadcast from the green
From
room.
Chi-Top. Yeah.
Straight up, straight up.
We're gonna make it the
Straight
real
up, we're
green
doing that.
room.
We're
We're gonna
doing
make
that.
it real
Doing that.
green. It's
Some
about to be real
sauteed
green in that
tofu.
joint.
Some
Hey,
sauteed tofu waiting for you.
hey,
Yeah, I'll get you some Reese's, that vegan Reese thing you like.
vegan
And
Reese's.
I'll get that tofu seasoned up the way you like.
You know, this is why I don't stay in your house, man. I told you, man. This is why you be wanting to feed me that tofu. Nuh-uh.
It was good, right? Get off the swine.
Yeah, it's good. It's good because Erica cooked it, so it's good. But I don't like tofu. Okay. Tofu, F you.
Y'all off the rails, man. But yeah, so you say you have a show coming up right now? You want to plug that show before we let
today,
you go?
it's past midnight now here. Today is already the 9th. It's midnight here in Adelaide, Australia, down under. Yeah, I'm headlining tomorrow at this WOMAD. It's a big festival they do. It's a global festival, but it happens everywhere. But right now it's in Australia.
Okay.
So
Right.
you know, just getting that bag, trying to pay that bill. You know, the capitalist in me, you get me. Selling my music selling my labor for some income. You get me. You know, that wage slavery. You know, yeah.
All right, bro.
Good luck. It's been a pleasure. Have a good show. Enjoy performing with the only child named in the movie. And look forward to seeing you next time.
Thanks. I've not watched the film and I'm trying not to, you know. So
yeah, it's probably best. Just skip it so you can have a good show.
Because
stay focused.
Everybody that has seen it has sounded just like you. Every real brother I have, every revolutionary that has gone to see the film has been like, you know. So, yeah. But you know, I love Bob Marley in a way that I would still have to see the movie, even if it's to critique it, even if it's to know one day we have to do another movie. You know, that's why we have to see the movie so we can know what we have to do right. You know, so if we have to do something right, you know, many musicians today, as I say, you know, they are Satchmo. You know, that's the game. You have to be able to be within Jim Crow, looking at lynchings every day, and get in the studio and say to yourself, "What a wonderful world."
Can also be a CIA operative, a mole.
Yeah, you know. Then, anyway.
Appreciate you, man. He actually set us peace, man. He actually set us up for our revisiting of Vernon philosophy.
Peace. Yes.
So Jerry, I actually want to show these two pictures first, right? And because and one of the brothers I know, you know, he's actually from Charleston too, and he was living in Costa Rica teaching. And then another brother, both me and Diallo know, but I don't know if everybody can see that. But he talks about, you know, him being a middle school math teacher, an international middle school math teacher, and he wanted to create this Black History Month trailer that he shows to students all over the world. And on there he has Woman King, Amistad, Birth of a Nation, and all these other things. Now, so again, I find it very frustrating that the argument to teach history would be through medias. And then you have another brother who, you know, talks about Mansa Musa movie possibly being made. And in the comments, I was able to kind of like struggle with him a little bit. Like, I'm not sure that hindsight we want to even celebrate him. But when you think about, again, Vernon, and I actually shared Vernon philosophy with the second brother. The first brother, I'm not sure he'd be willing to receive it, but I shared Vernon philosophy with him, and I'm curious. Like, I think we talked about this before in terms of your students and how they show up in the class with their analysis being built off of maybe movies and lyrics, or like the most radical they can get, or just expecting movies and entertainment to be a form of education. And yeah, I just wonder how you're still struggling with that. How often do your students even get to meet this Vernon philosophy kind of push? And then yeah, just
they get it from me every semester it comes up. But my first thought was with that last picture with Kugler and what's my man's name? Michael B. Jordan.
Yeah.
That I just saw the latest around Sylvester Stallone's critique of the Creed series and the fact that Irvin Winkler, the producer in Hollywood, owns the rights and controls the legacy of Rocky. So my first thought is, even with a fictitious white male Rocky fighter,
mm-hmm.
the legacy and the history and the narrative around that is outside of the control of its creator in Sylvester Stallone, who says he won't even continue to watch the Creed series, given where that he's lost control of the direction of the story. So when I see the people who are involved in it, so even just around the narrative of a Rocky, there is a struggle over control where the industry still determines, even above the creator, the white male creator, who himself is a superstar. If Stallone can't manage the narrative of Rocky, what hope can we expect for Michael B. Jordan and Kugler to manage the narrative of all of African world history, which they apparently are going to be the leaders of conveying over the next generation or two? So that was my very first thought when you sent that to us the other day.
Yeah.
Again, what I should do is just do more to bring the specifics to this show and elsewhere. But if we look at specifically what has been said around counterinsurgency, shout out to Matt Capitalism and Dylan Rodriguez. If we look more carefully at what the founders of mass communication in the U.S. have said, shout out to my political nemeses like Paul Lazarsfeld and Harold Laswell. They've said the film in particular, the cinema in particular, is designed to play a very specific role in conveying a level of authenticity, dominance of narrative that, unlike other forms of media, which are meant to do the same thing, is going to be most effective. So that's at least from their perspective. So even before we start to think about, which again I think should be the last thing we consider, but maybe the entry point as a first question to ask, but before we even get to questions about do we like something, we should be raising questions about how it got here. How is this the narrative? How is this the story that's getting to be told? How is this the many theaters it's getting released in? I mean, how many, it's, whether you get in 100 theaters or 4,000 theaters, is indicative of what the industry is saying they want done. So on and so on and so on and so forth. So all that said, yeah, just the specifics of your question. It comes up for me all the time. Students bring it into the classroom all the time, giving me opportunity to bring up the Vernon philosophy because it's almost like a scientific formulaic occurrence at this point. Students always make reference to films. A woman this semester just said a week or two ago, again, what happened to me 30 years ago in the class, or 20 years ago, 25 years ago in the classroom, where she still refers to Malcolm X as Denzel, because that was her introduction to Malcolm. So she still has to walk herself consciously through the step of not calling Malcolm Denzel. So right there. So then why? And then I'll say it. I shared it yesterday or the other day. It was an honor that a student of mine brought with him a friend to our class specifically to talk about the Bob Marley film, and because his friend is on spring break at Howard, so he brought his friend to Morgan to come to my class to have this conversation. I think it's an honor that students would want to do that and spend spring break in a classroom discussing a film, but they were intrigued by the Vernon philosophy and were, in this case, with one of the students, excited about having a sort of a simple analytical tool that he could bring into the movie theater when he goes to see these movies. Because, like with many of us, there is this intuitive, even before we have the vocabulary, we're like, man, this something might be off here. Right. So anyway, so that's
before you go, Diallo, Jared, could you briefly explain what the Vernon philosophy is in a snapshot for the people?
Well, I was just about to say how much I admire the fact that y'all could talk about Black media avoidance for several minutes without explaining it to the audience.
Well, I mean, they've heard it a lot. Yeah. They heard it a lot, but go ahead, Jared.
But the short of it is, Vernon.
Hey, who are the 573 people in the live right now, Geechee?
There's David, there's Iron Manifesto, there's Ricky Ryan, there's Johnny Duopoly, there's Diallo's #1 fan. I mean, there's a bunch of people. Go ahead, Jared.
So Vernon philosophy of Black media avoid.
All y'all are like God. He knows the number of hair on your head. He's so low.
Google Analytics is thorough. It's thorough. The surveillance is thorough. So the Vernon philosophy, named after my homeboy Vernon. Shout out to Vernon, who with whom I used to work at a pizzeria, and he said years ago that he didn't want to see any films featuring Black people. A brother himself, Morgan State grad, by the way, and I at the time thought it was wild to make that assertion that I don't want to see movies with Black people in it. And I said, why? He said, because we always look bad. And then my sort of joke became 25 years later, much student loan debt, thankfully now forgiven. I came to the same conclusion that after reading and studying the political context in which films are made, particularly here, that no oppressed group should look to see themselves in film, despite that being the attempt, because it's always going to be a fraudulent projection of that community. So it's not calling for a physical boycott. It's more of an intellectual one, just as a prophylactic of sorts to prepare yourself to deal with something when you go see these films or engage this media, and then to encouragement to raise certain questions. How do we know what we know? Why do we like what we like? And think critically about the stories, the narratives, and the product that is put before us. So that's basically what the Vernon philosophy is.
So I thought about, so there's a way in which I used to engage when I think I told y'all about, I facilitated Bible study groups, and there was like atheists in there, Hebrew Israelites, Christians, Muslims, whatever. And the goal was to like study it or deal with the book in a certain type of way. And so one of the things was, there was like 3 lessons in everything that you read. There's the moral lesson, the historical lesson, and then the doctrinal lesson, which meaning like a political call to action or what you should be doing. And I wonder if you think it's appropriate, including entertainment, to have some type of lens like that. Okay, the moral lessons of this movie, the historical lessons, see what's accurate, what's not, and then what is to be done after you watch the film. So Diallo first, but I wonder if you think that's too much to ask when people are engaging in something that they might say is, pleasure or fun or whatever. And I'm just thinking that with all type of experiences, we should have some type of, I guess, intention or I mean, I guess even in relations, like I don't think you should have mindless, aimless sex. I think you should even have some type of intention in that. So what do you think in terms of engaging entertainment, looking for moral lessons that we can probably dialogue about, historical accuracy, and then the call to action afterwards? What do you think, Diallo?
Well, what you're talking about is the phenomenon of escapism. When people attempt to say, well, I'm just trying to enjoy it. It's just a good song. Can we just enjoy a movie? Can we enjoy anything? You know, that's not being entertained. You know, ignorance is bliss, but bliss is also ignorance. So anything that you feel compelled to turn off your critical mind, to shut down your intellect, to deflect the messages or imagery in order to, you know, enjoy something. If you have to literally psychologically mutate or warp yourself in order to consume or enjoy something, then you should probably reject it. So I think that there's a lot of shit I enjoy, a lot of shitty shit I enjoy, like from junk food to junk media. But my media diet, just like everything else in my life, all my relationships have to be curated, you know. And I have to understand that when I am engaging with garbage, there are lessons to be learned there. There are things to be drawn there. I also, you know, when I play video games, you know, and there's a lot of embedded messages and imagery and stuff in video games. So I think that as individual and as a community, whenever we find ourselves compelled or motivated or making excuses for a piece of media that we enjoy, I don't think we are there to defend media. You do better to dissect and critique any media that you enjoy than you are to just reflexively defend it or try to make excuses saying, hey, can we just enjoy it, or it's good enough. So I think that media critique, dissection, criticism should be part of and understood to be part of the enjoyment. You know, it should be part of how we engage with media myself. So, but I think when people go there, you know, escapism is a fallacy. You know, there's really no sanctuary. There's nowhere you can escape to. So even if something is giving you the illusion that you're avoiding or escaping something, it's harming you.
Jared, I mean, what do you think in terms of, I don't want to say it's forced expectation, but again, like you're watching this film, there should be a way for you to be like, okay, morally, I kind of learned this, I think about this, historically, this is accurate or inaccurate, and then there should be some type of action afterwards. Is that asking too much for action afterwards?
Well, again, as I've to what people have said in the chat a little bit that I've seen, they're right that the only thing that I've really added to what Vernon said all those years ago is maybe some detail and context around why the Vernon philosophy is correct, why he would be reacting the way he was reacting, and there's maybe some specifics around what the intent is in the first place, but it also, the Vernon philosophy is specifically, again, what I call an intellectual boycott, because it's not making a specific call to action other than to investigate critically what it is we're engaging, especially when we like it. That to me, so methodologically, what I try to do is whenever I feel myself having an emotion as I'm watching a film, to gravitate towards it. To not suppress it in the sense that, or to try to not feel it, but to continue to ask, well, what is it that this scene or film is getting me to think narratively? Why is it making me have whatever emotion? And then what is it intending to have me do with that? What frame is it putting on that? So like the other day when we're talking to May Gant about Origin, they're intentionally dragging the viewer, particularly the black viewer, through all kinds of horrific, like he said, they want you to feel the trauma. They want you to suffer. So then the question becomes, for me, not let me turn it off and run away from the pain that's making me feel. The question is, one of them is, what is the intent behind narratively speaking, what do they want me to do with it? Why are they making me feel this way? What do they want me to do with it? And then as you're asking, I think, what do they want done as a result, which is where I think the biggest room for critique is, because ultimately most of these products want, as a result, some sort of self-reflection or look internally to the Black community for all the causes of the problem, or at best vote for a Democrat, that kind of solution. So or some other market-based solution. So yeah.
So what are, like, I remember, so I've actually quite often, I mean, maybe I'm into many conversations with artists, but I've actually shared Vernon philosophy quite often, and even talking about origins and this like constant redefining race relations with Vernon was saying, or what you were saying in the Vernon piece. And so I thought about like how there's this argument that funeral homes are recession proof business, and then I'm thinking of like the ability to sully a mass populations having some type of historical material analysis by entertainers, right? So doing a movie, partner up with a corporation. It seemed like that thing is always available to Black people, I guess, in a certain space. And then this idea of like being recognized from power, recognized by power, I also see it as like people's proximity to whiteness. So once you're on the screen, you have this type of money, you'll be able to in rooms with these people, like the audience being able to see you credible because now you're in front of white people. And so yeah, I don't know, I just think the conflict I have is people think that I'm saying that they shouldn't have art expression, and it's more of an ego response that they don't think that they're telling a particular idea, or they're subscribing to status quo dominant narratives. They don't think they're doing that when they're expressing art. And I always argue is like you have to, any figure that you have to present them in a way that you've studied them. And even when I told y'all like Shaka King came to Costa Rica, and the brother who had that first picture up, I asked Shaka a couple of questions, and then Shaka was like, well, I don't get into politics. I'm not even political. I said, well, why would you make a film about a major political figure? And then after the event, you could tell the people that was there, like the Black people that I know, they kind of felt some type of way, because I'm like, I wasn't challenging him. I was just asking some questions that he was trying to evade, because he claimed that he made Fred Hampton Jr. proud. And I'm like, well, I remember Fred said that he punched some walls out, right? And then after we was walking out the theater, the brother was like, well, I mean, I knew you was going to ask that type of question. But if this film didn't get out, most people wouldn't even know about Fred Hampton. So there's that argument of like, well, they wouldn't know about it, and it's doing a service. Even if it's not told right, at least somebody's telling about it. And now he's on the big screen. So yeah, I don't know. Like that's how my arguments go. And it's not that I don't want you to produce or have some type of artistic expression. It's that you should be more responsible with, again, your call to action, intentionally or unintentionally, that you're going to have with that film. And the call to action could be redefining race relations. And
so just quickly before I forget, one, please, everybody, to that point about Fred Jr., go to the platform and watch the multiple appearances that I and we have had with Fred Jr. talking about the film. And I don't think Shaka's description will hold up. And similarly, please check the platform for our discussion with Dhoruba bin Wahad about Fred Hampton. And as you see scrolling at the bottom, everybody, if you can show Dhoruba any financial support, he is again in need of it, because he is struggling to keep up with the pay to play healthcare he's forced to deal with. And as he continues to age, again, there's no appropriate healthcare for anybody, much less aging revolutionaries. And so if you are at all able, you see scrolling beneath us Dhoruba's PayPal and Cash App. You can support him directly. And yeah, so but also but one of the reasons why we want to show him so much support is because of the analysis that Dhoruba continues to offer, including as it relates to Fred Hampton. And I think another reason why the claim that the popular rendition of these histories and people is a net positive, because it leaves a document for people to go and research. I think it works exactly in the opposite way. It suppresses interest and a desire to follow up in the way that they're produced and disseminated. But I encourage people to check those discussions for more on that.
Diallo, do you, before we wrap, do you have a response or a feeling about this? If it didn't make it to the major movie screen, people wouldn't know about it. Do you have like a argument for that?
That's obviously not true, even if it may have been true in the past. You look at individuals like Tyler Perry. He was on local stages, and the bootlegged CDs and DVDs, CDs, the bootleg VHS that passed around. So actually, the underground is what brought him into it. So no, that's just demonstrably untrue. There's a lot of underground and regional and localized media and culture, music. From you go to Kansas City, you go to Memphis, Tennessee, and you got people who are hometown heroes and known by everyone, but they're not on the international or national stage. So that's not true. For better or for worse, it is what it is. But it's all been commodified and weaponized against us in one way or another. But that's just not true, for what it's worth.
So if they made a movie 50 years from now about buying power or money or whatever, the cast can either read Jared's book, or they're gonna read what's the lady name that you was arguing with the other day, or Brooke Stevens, whatever her name. And even with Woman King, I remember there Viola Davis was saying that the writer made sure that she had to read these few books. And so like there's not a way to engage in any of at least that type of entertainment, movies and stuff, without having the writer have some type of politic or something that they studied that even makes them confident enough that they can tell a story. So I don't know if we want to get into some of the session, the Q&A for that session. I thought some of them came up from also Shayun.
Let's see. So thanks to Leg Basir. Appreciate the breakdown of the Vernon philosophy, particularly the critical reflection on what the purpose of an emotion, a piece of media makes one feel, and what they're going to do with it. Yeah, right on. Thank you for that. Yeah, they was playing with us. What are they doing? How do we curate our media?
Well, I hate to dig out this old chestnut with Marshall McLuhan. The medium is the message. So the first time when you engage the media, first thing you have to recognize is where it's coming from. Is it, as it was mentioned, is it mainstream, corporate sponsored? Is it independent? What is the source of the media? That'll tell you more about the media than anything else, regardless of what the particular topic is. The medium, is it a legitimate newspaper, or even as they begin to disparage podcast and blog, there's this whole theme of not even disparaging, but it can tell you the emerging, for better or worse, power of social media and independently produced media, because the mainstream is, and the algorithm is doing so much to tear it down and so much to boost the most virulent voices to the front, from Joe Rogan and all the like. So things of that nature. So when I say curate the media, we here in the West, we're under media saturation, where we have been kind of come up in our consciousness and learning and past experience, seeing that media censorship, where the state or the power structure would try to limit your access to information and limit your access to media, and even limit your ability to produce and communicate abroad. But as technology evolved, they switched that tactic to saturate you and have you bombarded by media and platforms from every directions all the time, 24/7, and you can just engage with the average person in your community, and you see people tend to be dumber and more confused now in media, in the information age, than they were in eras where things were harder, where information was harder to get, where there was literally like underground media, from cassette tapes being passed around, albums and books and things of that nature. So anyway, the way you cultivate or curate your media is not to say I won't watch this and I only watch this conscious revolutionary stuff, but understand what you're consuming, the impact it's attempting to have on you, how it's attempting to move you, how it will genuinely move you, and what type of pushback will you give to that media? Will it be just personally like, I know this is bullshit, it was funny, but we don't get down like that, or I need to make a public stance against this particular media personality or this media product? So you curate it by basically navigating the media spectrum, by understanding what comes to you, where it comes from, and what it's attempting to do, and acknowledging what it actually does, and then determining based on that how you're going to respond.
And then just to supplement that, please, again, shameless plug, go to our platform and get the interview we did with Armand Towns about Marshall McLuhan and a Black media philosophy. Please, if you wouldn't mind, check out the book I contributed to, Global Warning, about McLuhan and what he offered in terms of media. All that can be found on our platform. And deploy the Vernon philosophy. As it said here, he was spot on. He just stated the obvious. But I don't agree with that in the sense that it was, I think, obvious that we were often misrepresented. But the next step of taking an aggressive stance against that, to sort of boycott that, and to make to take that critique to another level. I think Vernon was doing something different with that. Yes, Vernon New is a great new shirt. I'm already deploying it.
Can I ask you on your various streaming platforms, I'm sure you've all saw their Black History Month selections. And every time I see their offerings for Black History Month, I'm like, it's the wackest shit. So yeah. You can say this shit is so fucking whack. When they try to, put together a list and nothing gets me worse than the fucking, what's that goddamn swim team movie?
What, Pride?
Yeah.
Where they had to do, and that Red Tails movie.
Wait. Slow down. You listen. Wait. You coming for another hometown homeboy? Now you gotta chill out. Red Tails and Pride. Kevin Phillips is also from our hometown, and I think he did a hell of a job. So don't.
He did not. Red Tails is terrible.
You're right.
No disrespect. I mean, he don't have to take it I mean, this is a terrible film. He's got the scene where the brother he's got the picture of the white girl in the thing, and he can somehow see her waving to him as he's flying by.
But what about Pride, man? I mean, I think, come on, man. Like, he was in Pride. He was in Biggie movie. He was in Cookout.
42. Whack. All that inspiration. Ain't that the worst media that this system puts out is Black inspiration. Nothing gets me more depressed and uninspired than Black inspirational media. We should just Aquila and the Bee. That feel good, wholesome shit brings me down. It brings me down. I'm sorry. So every February,
how could you front on Aquila and the Bee?
Shout out to Kevin Phillips, man. I'm sorry, man. These brothers, can
I tell you, all of that shit has Christian evangelical salvationist undertones and overtones. Oh boy. Say it. Tell me it don't. It's all evangelical Christian propaganda. Especially when Denzel tries to come with the positivity produced by Denzel Washington. Whenever I see his name on, I know it. I'm like, listen, whenever Denzel is behind the camera or behind the desk, it's always some evangelical slop.
Denzel Washington.
I say this as a dude who loved the new Equalizer movies. Well, the first and the third one.
The one where he went to go find a little white girl? Is that?
Well, he's extending the tradition from Man on Fire and all those other films.
When he's on going to rescue a white woman.
Greasy.
Go watch Man on Fire.
Man on Fire. That's what I'm saying. And they didn't even let him kiss. They didn't even let him get a kiss from Julia Roberts in Pelican Brief.
You put a white
slept
woman
on the couch,
and you get Denzel at his best.
Jared advocating for sex scenes.
Yeah, I would watch Denzel.
Even as a youngin', I thought when I saw that scene, I said, "Oh, that's racist." I said, because I was like, if he's Brad Pitt, he's going to be smashing. There's no way he's going to put Julia Roberts. She's going to say, "Would you stay but sleep out there?" If that's Brad Pitt, I was like, that's racist. But even before Vernon, I was like, Vernon. Like, this is some bull. And then I heard the same thing when Seyoun was talking. I think he said the word learning, but it sounded like Lenin. And I thought the same thing. He said learning is hard, and I said no. I think but I heard Lenin too. So I just wondered.
Lenin's hard too. Lenin goes hard in the paint. So,
oh man, what is this, dude? Stick to your father's cosplay and music. Stay out of Black American affairs.
I highlighted that because listen, I highlighted that because I thought I may be mixing names up, but I thought BB was solid and in the chat oftentimes. But I kept seeing this type of comments. I was like, what the hell? But maybe I don't know who BB is. I thought I know who BB was.
I thought you knew everybody. You know what people know. Because I say, well, we didn't really give a good introduction. You said everybody know. You know everything everybody know.
Diallo, you didn't get your brother a good introduction. I'm just telling you that.
You saw he disparaging me.
Well, that don't matter. You be principal anyway.
I don't get down. When they go low, I go nasty. Don't play like. Don't ever think you're gonna get at me and I ain't getting. I don't come at me with that old righteous.
Pause.
Somebody got to hold down the Eric Mays legacy.
Eric Mays.
Somebody got to take up the baton. Now we didn't lost that civil servant.
I'm gonna ask our beautiful niece: is Diallo the reincarnation of Eric Mays? You ain't make the cut.
I know you're down to use that. I'm glad you found a way to work it.
I'm gonna keep using it. Every time you say something silly, I'm using it. All right, let's finish this.
All right, so that I think
take the high road on nothing.
So set up this next clip, and then I'll get it started, and then I'll take, because we're gonna play a few minutes of it, right? So I'm gonna take a little bio break while we get this thing started. But go ahead and
so Rosenberg had an opportunity to critique Charlemagne in multiple ways that I agree, but obviously him and his crew still will fall short to the political left that we would want them to have. But this is a clip.
Now we got High 97 and Rosenberg critiquing The Breakfast Club and Charlemagne.
Yeah, well, at least Charlemagne.
Okay, so this is all right. So let me know. We ready to play it?
Yeah, let's play.
Right, here we go.
Foremost expert in all of politics. There's not a person out there who knows more about politics than this man. No less of an authority than Charlemagne the God.
Oh, man.
What happened now?
They had him on, they did a one-on-one sit-down interview on ABC this week with Charlemagne to get his expert insight on politics. Do you know what he said?
What's that?
This is an expert. This is a man who we know for years has been studying politics. A man who understands the way politics.
You're digging. You're turning the knife. There we go.
I'm just saying, if you're going to do a one-on-one interview on one of the Sunday morning political shows, it's got to be someone who knows their business. He expertly said that Joe Biden doesn't have main character energy.
You're saying that wasn't very that wasn't highbrow?
This was being reported like it was this astute observation. And let me just tell you something. You know how I see this? The mainstream media shows their disrespect for the black electorate when they act as if Charlemagne is the only person they can talk to about politics. I haven't seen a grift of this effort to pretend that someone knows about something of Charlemagne politics since the Charlemagne knows mental health, his previous grift. And I know I'm not the guy to point this out because we're radio rivals, but I don't even care about that part. It's just crazy to me that we keep looking to people to tell us things who don't know. And then all we get is Joe Biden doesn't have main character energy like it's a movie or a video game. We know what Joe Biden is, guys. We all know. We're just going to keep repeating the same thing.
Well,
Radio
I will say this.
not the reason,
you're going to
though.
hear that same thing throughout the year. And to your initial point of Ebro creating this equal platform when it feels like Biden and Trump should not be.
Black Panther.
This is the multiple choice options that they've given us. So they're going to.
Well, by the way, it wasn't Ebro who was creating it. He was just saying that he didn't. I was saying I didn't like Jon Stewart doing that. Ebro said he didn't mind it.
Right. Because that's all we have. That's the only choice that they've given. So you're always going to have them in the same sentence, which creates somewhat of a equal.
But as we did, and the reason I'm expressing this is not just to be petty at Charlemagne. The reason I'm expressing frustration with just saying he doesn't have main character energy.
Subject. Okay.
No, you don't have to change this up. I'm not, bro, we've both been on the air at the same time for 18 years, whatever it's been. It's fine. The reason I have an issue with it is it does that same thing. What is main character energy? So is the main character supposed to be an actual sexual predator criminal? Because this is what we have. So we can keep knocking down the other guy if we want. It's not going to change anything. Now, you can say, I really hope next time we get better choices. And I think all of us would agree. On this show, Biden was not our top choice. We all preferred someone else last time around.
To defend Biden.
But the country voted for Biden. And generally speaking, in the history of this country, the sitting president doesn't just back off and say, I'm not going to run this time. They run again.
Right.
They run again. And then he's like, we need to empower Kamala more. It's a nice thought. It really is. But that's never happened in history either, where the people sit back and go, let the vice president do it. That's not going to happen.
That was some of the
And then when people say, what has she done? Well, can you tell me what the last 3 vice presidents have done that you love? And no one can say anything.
Oh, and then let's remember
Nobody can say anything.
And then remember another part, that if they try to push forward Kamala, you're going to remember real quick that we're in America and she's a black woman and she's going to catch hate for no reason. That's why we have the 80-year-old white man in the first place, because he's the only person we thought people would vote for.
And it gets annoying too. Everybody's like a character. What about policy? And what about people's rights that are at stake? You know what I mean? At stake right now. Wake up!
So what's Biden's policy?
We're only
people
talking
lose
about
rights, bro.
War bill.
And we're only talking about. And this is why I brought up the whole thing, because you're talking about someone in Charlemagne who's not a right winger. I don't believe he's a right wing guy, right? So what's the point of people who are not that way constantly pointing to the flaws of the age and the guy and what he looks like and how he acts and what he walks? Laura's right. Why are you not talking about the policy? Why are you not talking about the fact that things are going the right direction in the economy? Now, you can all look and go, the economy's not great. No, it's not great. We were coming out of a goddamn pandemic that happened on the watch of the last guy. And then this guy.
All right, Geechee said we could cut it. So
yeah. So again, I do remember Charlemagne's grift on mental health.
Just real quick, but reset it all, because I want to make it easier on myself, because this is going to get the video is going to get taken down because we played that clip. So when it comes back up with that piece trimmed out, please reset for folks who are going to see this later without that clip being in there, what we just saw, and then we can proceed.
So we just saw Rosenberg, Hot 97, give his partially accurate critique of Charlemagne, his radio rival. And I think it's important to, again, acknowledge how Charlemagne is being pushed into this space of political expert, political pundit, him and Teslin, the militarist. And I also do remember his mental health grift, where we've had a couple personal conversations about it, and even his mental health therapists called him out publicly before because he was on some bullshit. And I've said a couple of times that I thought that his mental health grift, his uplifting of black women, and his God talk all was to run cover for some shit that eventually gonna pop up and get with him. So I second that mental health grift. But if Charlemagne was really caring about mental health and was caring about peace and all these other things and healing, then he would also speak more to policies that Biden have and have more of a as Rosenberg tried to say, policies that directly impact people or policies that he can speak to intelligently other than, personality and shit like that. So for instance, if he's so much about mental health and peace, then he would condemn Biden's $95 billion war bill that sends $14 billion to Israel, $2 billion to the Red Sea, $4 billion to Indo-Pacific, including Taiwan and them boy, $9 billion to humanitarian aid to provide food for Gazans, West Bank, Ukraine, with most of it going to Ukraine. And you can see the contradictions of them spending way more money to destabilize the country and then throwing little scraps of food to the people who they're committing genocide on. But as Rosenberg says, and I think the lady said on there, that they're not really talking about policy that impact people. And so again, you get these political pundits on this platform acting like they know about politics and all these other things, but none of them can clearly talk about any type of policy at all. None of them can talk about, and I think this is why I said the after party concept, the black voter concept is so important, to where people are cosplaying like they're in the political process, but they're not. So why not get them into a place where they could understand how these things directly impact them? Because we're not going to get that from any of those these celebrity people. But yeah, there's a lot of contradictions obviously in Rosenberg. They're not the political left or the people that we would want, but I just thought those two critiques was hella spot on. Go ahead.
So before we move on, I forgive me for breaking our comment rule, but just for procedural purposes, if I'm reading this, Ricky is asking if it gets taken down, does it be demonetized because people have been sending in money? So the way I understand that it works is usually what will happen with EYL is we'll do what we just did, play a clip, and then the video will be blocked until I go in and cut out the part that has been copyright blocked. Then it will come back on. All money you send to the platform already gets to the platform, so it doesn't matter. And in particular, if you're sending money today, as we're asking to Daruba, he will get it regardless. I mean, because you're sending it directly to PayPal and Cash App. Mm-hmm. So even if the video gets demonetized or taken down, at least temporarily, that money will go to Daruba, and any money you send to the platform will still reach the platform. So, yeah, so I just wanted to clarify that. Sorry for that interruption. Diallo, did you want to?
I say respond? I don't drink Cristal and I can't stand Mo. Never receive currency for moving a kilo or an ounce.
Make them bounce. This fake MC flow.
Making moves, never faking moves. Shout out to J. Rue the Damager.
Now I see why Shay you won't bring you on stage, but go ahead.
Let me tell you something. J. Rue, man, let's see. That song slapped hard. So
shout out to Primo on that.
Shout out to the Damager.
So Diallo, two male murderous cult militarists that you could really talk about is the Democratic Party and the Republicans. You have the Democrats who demanding a specific type of war, and the Republicans wanting to broaden their war. So they will be against Biden's military or war bill, but they're not against it as in to stop it, but they want to broaden the war. And again, when you have the supposedly political experts come on and talk, they can't speak with that easy clarity around how they're critiquing these people. They're more so talking about, main character energy and silly shit like that. But what's your thoughts?
I mean, to get into that discussion, I mean, I think what Rosenberg was saying in relationship to Charlemagne was correct. It was spot on, and I think it is offensive that when they want to talk about politics in the arena and they want a Black or African perspective, they go out and find characters like Charlemagne. Now, I do accept that you can't be a scholar and an entertainer. You can't be a scholar and a performer. I don't take anyone's scholarly or intellectual credentials away from them because they also have other talents. But you got to be that. If you're going to be that, you're going to be that. But then there are people who there are people who wear their ignorance like a badge of honor. And when you look at Charlemagne's pursuits, like if you just scan through Black privilege, or if you know anything about his positions and commentaries related to his show, he's not really anyone who should be taken seriously in the political arena. I mean, literally, he's a fucking shock jock. And that's like if the Jewish community, and we want to talk about the politics in relationship to Zionists and the Jewish community, they go and get, what's that guy, Howard Stern. He's Jewish and people know his name, so let's put him up here to speak on these serious issues. So yeah, I do think that, but we don't need to hear that from Rosenberg. You know, I think that he's, as he said, there is the contradiction that he's on a media platform that promotes murder, death, kill, and some of the most reactionary and regressive media, most aggressively for unbroken decades, consistently over decades. I think that is probably, you know, you're getting some nutritious food on a nuclear radioactive lead plate, you know, so you're getting something that can be deemed good, but it's on a very, very shitty platform. So anyway, it's not that engaging or interesting to me, though. I mean, it's just, you know, one clown beefing and talking shit about another clown, even if one clown is a little bit right over that, it's not that impactful, I think. And I think the people who are influenced politically by Charlemagne, pretty much, probably that's what that's where they at. I don't think those same people are engaging with us or engaging with anything on a more sophisticated level. So, you know,
I do think sorry, yeah.
No, it's just so I'm not even sure what because I think it just seems that most people that engage with EYL and Black Power media are already well beyond that. So Charlemagne's audience critiquing him or critiquing his detractors, we're kind of talking about people who most of our audience probably don't pay attention to. But I can't be like Geechee and know and profess to know what our listeners know.
Hey, why you keep pulling up that whack ass line? When did I do that?
I'm sorry. I don't want no beef with you no more.
Don't be sorry no more. Don't be sorry, ho. Be careful. Don't be sorry, ho. Be careful.
You a gun nut. I didn't know you was a gun nut. I found out that you kind of like a gun nut, so I don't want no more smoke with you. And I
first of all, I ain't no gun nut. You see how he be misrepresenting private conversations to public platforms?
That was private. That was private.
Was it not in our chat? But I also didn't say that. But what I'm saying is, I said
it was in the chat. But where did you get it from before you put it in the chat?
Diallo.
You're not gonna answer that.
I'm gonna answer it. I got it off of social media. A friend of mine posted it, and I shared it with y'all. And then me and you had a little exchange about it. And you're misrepresenting an exchange.
Did it go down in the DMs? Because I pride myself on keeping shit close. It's supposed to be kept close. Now
this guy here, boy.
So if I
just want to say,
just quickly, can I just? We can get into that conversation.
All I want to say about that is that it seems to me, it reminded me of like the one of my favorite documentaries, Wormwood, or any of these investigations into intelligence and cyber warfare and misrepresentation. Like there's levels of the story. So we're meant to watch Rosenberg and be caught up initially in what he's saying about Charlemagne and who's the legit spokesperson for black politics, Charlemagne or Rosenberg. And I keep thinking of that Jack Nicholson scene from A Few Good Men where he said, who's going to protect us? You, Weinberg, you, Rosenberg, going to be the arbiter of black. But the real issue, as I think we sussed out, is that this is really a campaign commercial for Biden. And after all the smokescreen, it's meant to be a promo for Biden, get everybody back on track, tell us how good everything is. Even if, as he said, even if you don't happen to feel how good the economy is, take my word for it. It's great. And then maybe there is even another layer in terms of who are the legit spokespeople for politics, black, white, or other, and what should be advocated. But yeah, the idea that Hot 97 would be condemning anybody for anything at this point is absurd. That said, Charlemagne is wrong. Rosenberg and his crew are wrong in terms of their support for Biden. And
what are they wrong about?
Well,
in their critique of Charlemagne?
Their critique of Charlemagne. Well, yes, in the sense that their critique of Charlemagne is made less or made fully illegitimate by it ultimately being a defense of Biden.
Well, the critique is okay. The conclusion is wrong.
I'm saying the ignoble nature of the critique ultimately devalues the content. So in this case, the medium is the message. To take it back to what Diallo is saying, the content don't matter. The medium of Rosenberg is the problem.
So wait, you think black men shouldn't get mental health help?
Oh God!
What you trying to say? You against this, brother?
I'm saying when the message is being delivered to avoid maybe charges of their own or something like that, I think it starts to lose its value. Unless we're just saying we should just send all black men to prison or the military in the hopes that they will become radicalized and start reading within, because from time to time we hear that happening.
Oh man,
the message is good. All right, yeah.
So let me see something. I don't know if I can. Hope my little email thing gonna pull out, because Diallo insisted and he tried to make this thing something that it wasn't. So a friend of mine, or we grew up together, went to college together, posted this. He's I don't know if he's a cop, and he says, I think it's time to move. This thing is hovering over it. I think it's time for me to move on from my career as a police officer, especially since the state of South Carolina has adopted open carry laws. This profession is challenging enough without adding that variable into the mix. If anyone has leads or suggestions regarding new employment possibilities, please reach out via direct message. And then my question down there is, how do you think open carry impacts cops and the government's monopoly on violence? And Diallo tried to represent that I'm a what now?
I called you a gun nut.
I'm a gun nut. Why am I a gun nut, Diallo? Because I said, oh, he seems more confident when he. Oh, wait. Nope. You had to change. You had to change. You stop. I'm gonna say what I said, and you tell me how to do it.
And then you're gonna cut me. Wow. Okay, but hey, like I said.
No, I'm gonna just say what I said. I said he seems more confident when he has his gun against unarmed.
Liberty. Your cold dead fingers. Go ahead. Say that nonsense you're about to say.
I said that it's interesting that he seemed confident when he had the gun against unarmed people. And now that those people won't be unarmed,
now that the citizens have bared arms, we will have our liberty. Right on, Geechee. I forget you are in the Dixieland.
Jared, you on a gun?
You do come from the antebellum. I'll be forgetting that. I'll be thinking you some sophisticated city boy, but you good at country about the state that open carry will somehow affect the state's monopoly on power.
I didn't say that. I asked him the question. I didn't say that it would. I didn't.
Okay. It's an interesting question. It seemed like a rhetorical question to me, but maybe I'm just, you don't know? Did he answer it for you? Or
He didn't answer yet, but I wanted him to answer it. Now that he's ready to quit.
Did he tell you? Did he answer you?
I don't think he will answer that question. I think he won't.
So you have to walk around in darkness. So you don't know. You genuinely don't know.
No, I know the answer, but
it wasn't.
Oh, Jesus. I know the answer, but I'm asking him. So Diallo, the difference between me and you is when
I'm here. Talk to me.
Okay, the difference between me and you, when I engage in conversation, I include people into the conversation. I don't speak for them. I don't speak over them. You, on the other hand, you speaking for both parties.
You talking to somebody who ain't here. I'm asking you.
You do that often.
Ask the man about the state's monopoly on violence as it relates to open carry. And I'm asking you, I said you already know the answer to that, correct?
Absolutely.
So it was a rhetorical question.
Well, it wasn't rhetorical. It's me getting his insight or thought or how he believed. It wasn't rhetorical.
Share it with you.
Yeah, it wasn't rhetorical, and it's on a post, so he could be doing whatever. He might get to it later. But the point is, if I know an answer to something and you're saying something, I can ask you a question to see how your views on it as well. So that's what I did. But anyway, Jared, you own a gun? Yes or no?
Don't put your business out there. Don't.
No, I don't mind saying that my wife has said we're not allowed to.
And if you did, would that mean you would be a guns enthusiast like Diallo is claiming?
Well, first it would mean I have contradicted the mandate of my wife.
Well, there we go.
Which would just be absurd.
Listen, anybody. Again, it's just peculiar to me that was your angle that you would bring up. And if you knew, and I think it would have been better for you to acknowledge that you understood as opposed to ask this question especially when he didn't answer. Because I mean, I
don't know if he answered yet.
That is some fucking NRA type rhetoric about the state, the people, the citizens, the common man wrestling away the state's monopoly on violence through individual gun rights or open carry and that other bullshit. It is delusional and false.
And you think that's what he believes by saying that's why he's going to quit his job?
What you believe? I don't know that man you were harassing online. I'm trying to get into what you understand. I was genuinely surprised, and I only spoke about what you made public. And you accused me. We had a discussion in the DMs. We had a private discussion, which I haven't mentioned any part of the private discussion. I'm only talking about what was public.
No, you literally said something about I was a gun enthusiast. That's what you said.
Yeah, I was genuinely surprised. You talking mess about state monopoly on violence and open carry and all that nonsense. I was genuinely, I didn't see you that way. I mean, shoot, if I don't know. If I'm gonna get blicked, I'd rather be a dude in Air Force Ones, and wearing a hoodie, not some dude with spiraling dreadlocks sprouting out of the top of his head.
So Diallo. So there's rain. So we in the air, there's rain, and we can't land the plane. So we have to circle around. And I think you haven't landed the plane yet. You've been circling around. So land the plane for me.
Let's get to the point. You understand and you accept that open carry has no appreciable impact on the state's monopoly on violence.
Of course not.
Right? So why did you pose that question? Why were you curious about that officer's position on that issue?
Okay. So the answer is, this is a cop who I know. I knew him before he became a cop. Right? And this is a cop who's now expressing that he's ready to quit the police force because people can now carry guns, or the gun laws is lax or relax or whatever. People have access to more guns now. Mm-hmm. And what I'm doing is asking him a question to hopefully help him highlight the contradiction that he's struggling with right now. And so I'm saying, oh, you're going to quit your job as a cop? Do you think now the state won't have monopoly on violence now because people, it's an open carry state? So what did I say, Diallo?
I'm going back to look at
So by the way, just because I was there in the chat, I took it as just a passing joke about. I didn't even take you that seriously, Geechee, to be honest. I'm no disrespect. I just thought it was a passing joke to make the point that I thought was. I mean, I think it's a legit point that he's saying I don't want to be a cop anymore if everybody has guns. So I think that is an interesting point, interesting way to bring up the state's monopoly of violence and why. And as you said, he felt comfortable being a cop when he thought he was the only one with guns. Now that everybody has a gun, he doesn't want to be a cop anymore. So that's all I took it as. I'm not sure what. Now, Diallo, I think I understand your point, and in general, I agree with part of it. For instance, I do believe I am a supporter of armed self-defense and being armed. I am not a fan of what I think, as you've pointed out rightly, some of the delusion that gets attached to that about what people think is the potential of some revolutionary activity because they train or have some weaponry of their own. That's it. That's all I had for it.
That's normally all it's about. A light conversation on social media. But Diallo, you done? Anything else you need to try to do?
Hands up, don't shoot, Geechee.
This nigga.
Oh man.
Oh, all right. So yeah, so I think we're done with Rosenberg and his critiques of Charlemagne and the mental health god. Where y'all want to go, Cuddly Mike or Hill Hopper?
Let's get to Hill Harper because
all right.
Jared been on this for a while. Let's just
it's all I have, but it's also true that this is one of the few things I'm relatively known for, so I get this sent to me all the time, which I think is great. And it's funny that I'm not allowed to move on, but this was sent it's from the Earn Your Leisure crew, and with Bitcoin back on the way up, the cryptoganda is back in effect. So
can bring us back to that. And so to answer your question, if we tokenize that building behind us, it opens up the access for actual ownership in a smaller fractal share way when maybe one of us or two of us don't have the down payment, and we know how they redline, they know how less than 1% of major bank lending goes to our community. So even the idea that you're going to get a loan for that building may not even happen. But if we're able to tokenize that building, and I could go to you and you and you and you and you and say, how many tokens of that you want? Oh, you can do 10, you do 20, you do 40, you do 10, you do 2, you do 5, you do 7. All of a sudden, we collectively own that structure, and we don't let other outside forces, like what happened in Harlem as an example. Developers came in, beautiful brownstones. They bought them, they boarded them up. They did not create affordable housing. They boarded them up. They choked the community. Community services start closing. Cleaners close. Grocery stores close. Food deserts are created. Nobody wants to live there. Everybody leaves. It's vacated. Then en masse, they come back and develop it, but they don't sell it back to us, right? So we can disrupt that type of activity because you look at that building, most of the windows are boarded up. Someone's choking out that building because they could be redeveloping and creating affordable housing, but they're not. They're trying to choke it out and then bring other people in. We can disrupt that through tokenization by getting into and access to the asset at a lower individual cost. But the only way that works is if we do it collectively, which we haven't been taught to do in our community. We've been taught to compete with each other, but not work collectively.
So there's so many things wrong, just even with what he said there, in terms of just some of the basic economics. The idea, he says off the top, 99% of all bank investment goes to other than the Black community. So a way to circumvent that is to have the Black community work together to collectively, in small portions, buy up whatever the banks won't lend them money to buy. But he leaves out, of course, in that discussion, where does that 99% that they do invest go? And how then do you expect these small tokenized purchases to match that in any meaningful way? He also leaves out, well, if all of us are buying pieces of the stock, who has controlling ownership and makes the decisions? Because you can have a small piece of a company. Years ago, I used to use this in my classes. There were these commercials that were running for credit cards where they would start off with some regular Joe in like a limo or seen in some yacht. And then they're describing this person as the CEO, not a CEO, but like an owner of this or that major corporation. And then you see at the bottom, the point that they're making is that this person, it was some platform investment commercial thing or for credit cards maybe, but they were taking a portion of your credit card statement and investing it in one or another company that you bought and giving you some minuscule, and it would say like John Smith owns 0.00000000001% of the stock. He's in his limo. Look at, and it was all a joke, but the point was that it was a joke. And then here we are having this being promoted today by someone attempting to be a political leader, a senator, et cetera, and so forth. Telling us that this is a pathway. Again, who's going to have controlling voting, controlling ownership? You're not going to have some sort of not only financial benefit, but any sort of ruling power. One thing I'm going to do come back and do another time a whole thing on this. But I went back and at the encouragement of one of our collective supporters, I went back and read the chapter from The Color of Money called The Decoy of Black Capitalism. And shout out to Hood Communist, who Ricky just sent me. I just see that they published someone had done something making good use of my buying power work and as a returning to this critique of Black capitalism. So to put it all together, we got to come back and look at this chapter. But one thing that she points out in this chapter with much more detail than I've remember giving credit to, that the goal of promoting Black capitalism, primarily through Nixon and the like, was designed to attack at least two prongs of the potential Black and broader struggle. One, she says that the goal was to deny the Black community another important source of power that is derived from collective action. By dividing the community between entrepreneurs and the masses of consumers, the Black community was placed at crossed purposes. So one wing of this was an attack on Black nationalism, on radical Black nationalism, by reducing it to Black capitalism. And the other prong that she details, we can get into at another time, is the broader class solidarity with workers by creating a narrow nationalism where Black workers isolate themselves from the broader struggle, weakening everybody's situation. So this is just another version of that, draped in this fantasy of small-time investment, tokenization, and Black capitalism.
You got it. He got you. He got you, Jared. You fell for it.
So one of
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. I thought you was just saying that.
I've never heard tokenism used in that context in my motherfucking life. I've never heard that shit. And here you are now using tokenization and tokenism in that context, when I think that was his only goal. You know, a lot of times, like the word Uncle Tom, sellout, conservative, these were crossing over. There's been a time where established Black people, where the titles we use for them, they try to reword and rework those titles. Y'all run around every time I call somebody Uncle Tom, some individual jumps up talking about, well, Uncle Tom, actually, Uncle Tom was a good. So it's weird to me that a guy who is striving to be a token in the establishment, now wants to turn tokenism into a word that means us coming together and all owning a piece of our community. And then you turned around. I'm like, he's doing good. He's doing good. He's breaking it down. But then I'm like, he bet not use the word token, tokenization, and tokenism in that context that he was trying to use it. That we're not going to redefine what a token is. We know what a token is. We know what tokenism is. And that ain't it. So I agree with everything you're saying, but I think you missed one of his major efforts was not to encourage us all to buy a brownstone, own a percentage of one brownstone. He was trying to get the word tokenism, the tokenism label, and the sting of being a black token removed. And y'all done took away Uncle Tom. Y'all greed is good. Now individualism is self-care. It's warping our philosophy, our ideology, our identity. So it's just another one. Let's not play around. We know what a token is. And it ain't a percentage of an ownership of a brownstone in Harlem.
So just to be clear, this is not at all to disagree with what you're saying. I think you're making a great point. But as Goddess Crew was pointing out here, just to be clear, we could have clarified just for the sake of discussion, the context is around Bitcoin and NFTs where the T does mean token. So in the context, and it's partially my fault because I've gone down all the crypto rabbit trails, but in that space, tokenization has a different meaning. Now, I think you're making the appropriate point that we should be aware of, but I just wanted to, so we're clear, but go ahead.
So I want to acknowledge that, what's this guy? Hill Hopper tracks, right? So I saw him in Baltimore, Maryland, when I was I have a JEGNA program that was being contract with Edmondson High School, and I was supposed to speak at an event that Hill was coming to, and I spoke first. And this is when Hill had this thing called Manifest Destiny. I don't know if the organization's still around, but it was based off.
Don't do that, man, like that. It says manifest your destiny. You Dialloing that man by taking it out and calling it for what it is. Manifest destiny.
It's shitty still. What's the difference? What's the difference? But now
my bad. No, that's what I actually
and tokenization.
I meant to say yo. I really did meant to say yo. I think I meant my bad, Hill. But anyway, so
you're literally reading between the lines.
but no, you're leaving the lines out.
Hey, listen. So at his event, and now this story ends tragically because the school wrote me a bad check. They wrote me a bouncy check. And I was struggling. Edmondson, they fucked me over. But anyway, so I'm up there speaking to the young people. They loving me. And then I'm calling Westmore. Hill comes in and his turn to speak. And he's talking and he's doing that same little shit he's doing that he did on the stage. Like, and the kids kind of like, and he might say one or two things. They're like, oh yeah, Mr. Shaw told me that. Yeah, Mr. Shaw told me that. And then he kept looking at me like, I guess he was upset that like anything he was saying just wasn't helping. And then at the end, all the teachers, the women teachers, they ran to him. And I think one person, and then all the kids came to start like fighting over me, and like the principal saw that, so I showed him up on I ratioed him on his own platform. But this manifest your destiny logic that he had tracks with this tokenism and all this crazy shit that he's talking about right now. So I'm not surprised.
Well, he was Obama's buddy. They're all part of that trajectory. And then he was invented by Tyler Perry to play a good guy cop in a role that didn't exist in whatever that movie was that they stole from the sister who wrote it, and then they stole from the sister who's supposed to be the original director. And so it makes sense. And he's back on the grift. And then we saw EYL is back on there. You know, Bitcoin is back.
Bitcoin is up again.
So on one of the, I guess, the interviews that I was seeing, how I guess they were still talking about the SEC, after discouraging people from engaging in it, now is promoting it or now funding it. And I just remember the argument around it not being controlled or not being regulated. that was a big push, and now it's like I've never heard them correct themselves and say, okay, well, we was wrong about that. This is why we need regulation. Now it's like they talk about regulation as if they never was not talking about it being unregulated before. And so to me, it just seems hella disingenuous.
We're coming out of a crypto winter, and the XRP ruling is very interesting because just to break it down real quick, people who may not know, the SEC was trying to have XRP, the commodity that is the token, the asset, considered a security. And therefore it would fall under securities law and therefore be illegal for them without the proper licenses, et cetera, to trade that asset. But the judge ruled that instead of it being considered, and now the ruling's not final and we're really talking about what may happen in the future, but the potential is that asset, the judge said, is not necessarily a security, but a commodity, like an orange. So if you have a grove of orange trees, you grow oranges, you don't need a license from the SEC to sell those oranges. It's a commodity. And so since this asset was created, the question is it a security like a stock, or is it a commodity like an orange? And if it ends up being ruled to be a commodity, then the floodgates literally will open extremely wide because it'll allow a great deal of assets to flow into the space because it won't be. Now, other people argue that the more regulation in the space is better because it's kind of like the Wild Wild West, and therefore you need regulation, and both parties are correct in a way. But what's interesting about it to me is folks who are holding XRP thought that it was definitely going to go the security route, but it's indicating that it may go the commodity route, which changes people's minds. So you've seen the price, for instance, of XRP.
So the part that he's leaving out, unless you correct me and tell me that he does this later, because I haven't seen the whole thing, but the part that gets left out of that, because this is what I learned after that debate initially with Reggie Middleton. And I didn't know it at the time and beforehand, but when we were having our debate that you moderated, Geechee, he kept raising this question of what do I know what a cryptocurrency is? Do I know what Bitcoin is? He kept saying it's not a coin. He kept trying to redefine it away from currency and away from a security, in part because of his own private company's battle with tokens and this point here. So what I learned subsequent to that is the short of it is, if it's determined to be a commodity, the Commodity Trading Commission doesn't oversee those commodities in the same way the SEC oversees securities, in part because the idea is that securities are more have greater potential to upset the market and destroy investors' investments. So they're more likely to pay attention to that. So the reason that the Bitcoin enthusiasts want it to be determined to be a commodity is because they don't want the oversight. They want the wild, wild west that Hill Harper was describing because it's a hustle. And if it's going to be determined to not be a security, even though it's being traded as such, that is invested in with the expectation that based on its putative value, that its value is going to go up, but it's not something that actually does what a commodity does. In other words, an orange is something you can actually eat and use. You can make juice with it. You could use the peels. You can eat it, peel it, and eat it. But a Bitcoin has no value. It doesn't do anything other than create investment value for those who own it. So that's why probably Bitcoin is going up in value. That's probably why people like Hill Harper are back on this whole thing telling black people to buy up all the Satoshis, like he was saying, buy up 1/100,000th or whatever of a Bitcoin, like you're going to keep up with the actual owners of the Bitcoin, and as if you're not just simply propping up the value of the coin that others actually own, which we've already shown is accumulated in the handful of blockchain wallets. So this So instead of telling people don't get involved, especially if it's ruled as a commodity, because you'll never have any oversight and protection, he's saying, no, that's where all the investment, he's saying that's where all the investment is going to come in, which you're somehow supposed to be able to balance out by all of us collectively buying one little piece of it. It's just madness. It's just madness.
Have you ever seen this? This, it might be old to you at least. This report done by the Yale student, and I think in there he was pretty much speaking about how Zay and all of them were pretty much arguing about this not being able to, like, to close the racial wealth gap, and because we was trapped out, now this is a way for us to get it. And again, I'm not hearing much of the argument of, not the argument, but I'm not hearing much of correction that, like, they made a mistake. Even with the other guys you've been on this show, the gentlemen of crypto, I feel like news and shit can change, and never once did they go back and be like, yo, we was actually wrong about this. This is what's happening now. And they just keep rolling, and it makes me, I guess, really think about even that audience. So Hill can say a bunch of bullshit. Haha Davis before him could say some shit, and everybody just not. I mean, it's not like they even care what they're saying. It's
like the preachers when they say the earth, the universe is going to end and Jesus is going to come back, and then when he doesn't, they're like, oh, I misread. It's going to be the next 100 years. So when crypto crashed, Earn Your Leisure went on there and said, I told y'all to diversify and have money in real estate. And now that it's coming back, they're like, I told y'all you should have held on to your crypto, to your Bitcoin, because it was going to come back up. So that's all that they do. And if you catch them at the right moment, you might believe it. And all the people that lose everything, they just get ignored.
Where they get that $1 million Diddy check? Have they?
No, they ain't get it yet.
He said they didn't get it.
Talents.
They ain't get it. They ain't get it. But it was supposed to. They supposed to use it to invest, but they didn't get it yet.
On the TV, I saw it.
Yeah, I know. I saw it too. Yeah. I could write you a check right now and put it on this paper, and you can see it.
Could you please?
Yeah, I will. Hey, I don't know how old y'all are, but wasn't there a book, 69 Reasons Why the World Will End in 1969, and then they sold like millions and millions of copies? Was it something like that happened?
I mean, the Jehovah's Wickedness been predicting and having people divest of all their assets they did it like 4-5 times into the world.
But somebody sold a bunch of books. I don't remember the title, but it seemed like somebody sold.
There's been a few of them. There's been a number of them.
Alex Jones
debates channels
predicted another collapse.
In fact, I saw some scenario. If you go back, there's a couple videos on YouTube. If anybody's really interested, Alex Jones has been doing this for a long time, and he just updates the which form of collapse will it be and when it will occur. And then when it doesn't occur that way, he comes up with a reason for that and then says it'll be the next one. And you could see him going back, I think, to the early 80s. You could see him when he was as thin as Geechee and talking about this group or that group. And then he figured out the grift and built his lane.
Have you been to any of these prepper or survivalist conventions?
No, even I don't try to infiltrate something like that.
I've been to a couple. Them shits is wild. Them shits is wild.
Oh, and man, we got 666 up there. 666 people in the chat. Goodness gracious.
Yeah, please make sure you like, share, subscribe, everybody. Welcome.
Diallo, don't bring the devil out of us.
Yeah.
No, but I feel like I served in the military with a number of those types, and so yeah, I'm good. I'm good.
You're not prepared for a collapse of society.
No,
you ain't stockpiling.
Mm-mm.
I ain't got to ask Geechee. No, you ain't got your dried goods.
Hey, anyway, Jared, did you notice you can see where all the people are coming from on the people in the chat now? If you hover over it, see who's on Black Power Media, who coming a mix with a light, who coming from Twitch or whatever you call that thing.
No, you can't. Yeah, I mean, you don't have to hover. You can just see it on the.
I see it
on the icon.
You see it?
But yeah, we got a nice crowd. What else we want to get to? What else?
I mean, we got Diallo trying to cap for Killer Mike and the Murderous Rappers. We can get into that.
Yeah, what happened there?
I gotta let me find that link again, because
you go find. Basically, Cutley Mike and Jay-Z before him is saying that you should not be able to use a artist's lyrics against them in a song, and he quoted
I saw that video. Sorry. And who is Van Lathan? Who is this guy?
You don't know Van from oh shit, what's that little gossipy news place that used to damn it,
TMZ.
Yeah.
He's the guy that stood up to Kanye when Kanye said slavery was a choice, and he told Kanye how hurt he was. He was the guy.
And you remember Van Lathan was on the rap podcast you like, and Van Lathan he sounds smart on the rap joint.
No, I don't.
You said you don't watch it no more.
He was on Matt Hoffa's show.
Matt Hoffa, yeah, he was on there, and he actually, you know, he sound way smarter than everybody on there. We watched the clip on here, so you probably don't.
Well, because I got something from him that I thought we might play too, but that's why I was asking. But okay, Killer Mike's radical lyrics are masking reformist politics. By Nicholas Villa Byers. I don't know what's being said here. I haven't read this. I don't know what's happening.
So it's kind of the same argument that he had on a little clip that we sent of how he doesn't believe rap lyrics should be used as evidence just as much as the white lady who wrote How to Murder Your Husband. She's not being indicted or in trouble for what she wrote, and you just think that art is art. And as we said earlier, these rappers are not saying they're engaged in this lifestyle. It's just a show. It's an act. It's art. It's not real. Like, so when Nipsey says, "I'm nothing like you rap ninjas," Nipsey's a shooter. That's a fact. He's not really a shooter. He's joking. It's artistic, and so all of their rap lyrics is that, and that's what Killer Mike is claiming. And I wonder what y'all think, because when I'm thinking about Black Scare, Red Scare, on a documentary, they're presenting like the state is coming after these people, and the state is the enemy, and all these other things, and it's almost like comparing these people to actual revolutionaries, actual political prisoners. Yeah, so I'm just curious how y'all feel about this lyrics, and then also what the lyrics promote in general, and how the lyrics impact us. And we just talked about the, you know, celebrities and entertainers' ability to influence us into a certain politics. So I wonder how y'all feel about the lyrics.
If Mike is right in telling the truth about this story about a white woman writing a book, How to Kill Your Husband, and she kills her husband, and the book can't be used in her trial, if that story is true, it stands to reason you shouldn't be able to use someone's lyrics against them in a trial. So I think that makes sense. I would encourage folks who are engaged in the activity that they're rhyming about to maybe not rhyme about what they're engaged in, but that's about as much of this as I know. So How to Murder Your Husband, author sentenced to life in prison for murdering husband. I mean, did she really write the book after she thought she got away with it? Is this what this is being said here? That's mighty whitey you, as they say. That's OJ-esque. You're muted, Geechee. That's why I don't hear. I thought it was.
I'm sorry, Diallo. I know you don't like murderous rap music, but how do you feel about that?
I like some. Listen, I think these rappers are just for all the things to rally around. From what I understand about evidence, it's a case by case basis. There's no uniform standard for what can be evidence or what can't be evidence. It's literally like the prosecutor has to make an argument about the admissibility, and the defense can make an argument about the inadmissibility of evidence. And I don't know if there's anything in society that has been universally permitted or universally banned from being evidence in any type of trial. So I think this is like another one of those cause celebs, or one of those empty positions that these prominent leading blacks can take to give the impression to the rest of us that they're taking a principled stand, when it's really amounts to absolutely fucking nothing. When there are real causes, not only that they ignore, but there are real problems and issues in our community that they perpetuate and benefit from. Because when you look at the rules of evidence, if you've ever been charged with the crime, or if you've ever sat through a trial or had a loved one charged with the crime, there's always hearings to determine what's admissible and what is inadmissible, and how it is germane or how it pertains to the case. And the judge sit there and says, well, this is not permitted, that's permitted. And I don't know of literally anything. There are some rules pertaining to like testifying or self-incrimination. There are rules related to how a spouse it can be compelled to testify or not. But where else, what other form of evidence is universally permitted or universally barred from prosecutions or trials? So it's really annoying to me that someone like Cuddly Mike, who portrays himself as someone who is trying to advance the interest of our community, trying to alleviate some of the burdens of oppression and all that shit, and they come up with this shit. Jay-Z made a big, we shouldn't use lyrics, or we should use lyrics. There's so many times, even international trials, they kick in people's doors and find, he had a copy of Mein Kampf. Or many of these mass shooters write manifesto. And then the defense attorneys and the prosecutors haggle back and forth whether or not a mass shooter's manifesto or their online history is permissible as evidence or not. And then evidence determines different things. It can determine guilt. It can determine intent. But sometimes evidence can be submitted to demonstrate innocence. So what really golds me is the fact that these prominent black people with huge followings, huge platforms, shelves full of awards and trophies really fucking play us like they do. They really play us where it's not, there's not going to be no court, no judicial body in the United States is going to sit there and say this form of evidence or that form of evidence is admissible or not. And things don't just become evidence. They have to be submitted to the court to be determined whether or not it can be evidence. So it's weird to me that this is even a cause or an issue. It's really weird. There's been instances where lyrics have been used unjustly, but we know the whole court system is corrupt and biased against us. But to talk this lyric that it's just weird that they come at judicial reform from that point of view. It's just a weird thing and a waste of time and energy that I think that they're deflecting from real issues as it relates to mass incarceration and the racism and corruption in the judicial system.
Well, I just don't appreciate all this anti-celebrity from Diallo, and would like to hear directly from them, if we can, if that's where we were headed. Because all of this, I mean, they've earned their wars. There are leaders. They've won these awards. They've won the Grammys. They put out they did the work of putting out the records and the music and the movies. And then here come Diallo talking about we shouldn't care about what they say. I just don't think that's fair. So to that end, because what we do here,
I care about what they say, but
you're cutting off. You're cutting him off.
Cuddly. I don't want no smoke with Cuddly either.
And then that's the other thing. You call him Cuddly, and then he goes on somebody else's show and cusses me out.
Play the other one first, Jared.
Oh, now I'm playing the wrong one first. Look at this guy.
I don't mess with these NRA brothers, Geechee and Cuddly. I don't want no smoke with these NRA cats.
But do you know what's interesting though? Like you have a sycophant that's behind you that anything you say they treat it like gold. So people literally gonna believe that.
Who that is?
Shout out to you.
What?
Wait, what happened?
I said Diallo has an audience full of sycophants, and they will literally believe what he say as gold.
Oh, he got Diallo stand. Diallo, he's earned, but he just like Killer Mike has earned his audience. Diallo has earned his. So, but everybody, the audio is as high as I can get it, so you're gonna have to maybe adjust your own whatever to hear it. But here we go. Here we go.
Not many artists have been as outspoken about protecting our rights as Killer Mike, whose mom was once a hustler and his pops a policeman. Mike, bro. Guy. What's up, man? Great to see you. Man, bless you. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We are the murderers there. That went to jail and we murdered the murderers there. That went to jail and we murdered the murderers there. Then went to hell and discovered.
Stop bobbing, Geechee.
How do you feel about that name now in the context of the rights as Killer Mike, whose mom was once a hustler and his pops a policeman? Mike, bro. Killer Mike. It was bestowed upon me after battle. I wouldn't have gave myself that name. It's damn near crazy for a black man to call himself Killer. I just knew that it was important for me that I express myself through art. And I went to school during the Reagan era and exposed to the crack epidemic. Rap validated that I wasn't insane. As a kid, I'm seeing things that people aren't acknowledging. You know, Nancy Reagan would just say no shit. Like, get the fuck out of here. I know that my neighbor who used to have a great job should not be standing on the corner this year. So this is beyond just say no. This is an epidemic of sorts. And rap is the only thing that validated that. When I said 6 in the morning, police at my door, fresh Shadida sweep across the bathroom floor, out the back windows where I made my stick, didn't even have a chance to grab my old suit. When I heard that, right now, I still get chills because that's actually the life that I started to see black teenage boys leading. And no one was acknowledging that except for rappers. Can lyrics like that?
All right.
Did he quote Ice-T?
He did not. I was going to say the same thing. He did not credit Ice-T with that lyric, and that was some nonsense.
How dare he?
I agree.
Dare he?
I thought the exact same thing.
In Ice-T's lyrics.
The great Ice-T.
Icon.
But do you hear that? You hear that? Do you hear his argument about rappers are speaking at real? They're telling this blah 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 blah, and I'm thinking about like Broderick Dunlap's piece that he wrote, and when he talked about the lumping and the efforts of people supporting, particularly the Panthers supporting this group, so that they could elevate people's consciousness and share different things about or help them build people's analysis. And so this argument of like we're only speaking about what we see, right? And I remember not Jay-Z or Jeezy, one of them got called out because they say, well, if Jeezy rapping about the things he don't see yet that he want to see, why is this argument still that we could just speak about things we see? The reason why I'm rhyming about violence and drugs, I think David Banner said this too, is because that's what's in my community.
That's the biggest, one of the biggest lies that have
shit wild. I don't even know how it still sticks up. Yeah,
just repping about what I see. I don't think Ice Cube has a misdemeanor conviction. Talking about he has a crime record like Charles Manson. I know the cats from back in my day was a whole lie and a half. So I don't know. I can't speak on the neck tattoo rappers.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I can't speak on the mumble rappers and their pedigree. But I can assure you that all the rappers from my era, you know, were not about that life, and they were not articulating what they saw on the streets. They were articulating fantasies to sell to white suburbia, to the point where even Al and Tipper Gore was like, God damn, you know, in our lily white affluent world, all we hear are these colored boys. It's a minstrel show. They were selling because the white majority has this desire to see their victims in a degraded state. So whether it's Asian people in that Ching Chong media, whether it's Latinos and that whole, you know, vatos shit, or black people in gangster rap, the primary consumers and the primary producers on both ends of that pipeline are the white majority and the white masses. And they artificially, it's been written about, it's been exposed so many times. At the same time, Poor Righteous Teachers, The Coup, Arrested Development, all these progressive, conscious, revolutionary, positive artists were repressed and suppressed, mocked, and as these other gangster rappers was promoted. I mean, it's an old story now. It's a minstrel show.
So Jared,
Yes.
let me. I want to see if I can push you and Diallo into some back and forth. I know Diallo has a harder stance on the using the lyrics, right? And again, reading what Broderick wrote and talking about like the bands that promote a particular politic versus rappers who promote lyrics that support white hegemony. They already promote themselves to be class enemies. When their lyrics are used, do you feel like you should wipe the hands and like, well, they have state propaganda, let the state handle them? Do you feel at all that you don't really care what happens to them since they already are class enemies? They already have lyrics that are damaging.
Who said that?
I'm not saying that you said. I'm just saying, dude, is there a feeling of like not really worrying about what happens to a Killer Mike because he already chose a side, or he's already doing more harm than he could do good? Does it make sense? Or
Well, if I understand you correctly, this is the only, not the only area, but this is the primary area of disagreement between Diallo and me, that I give more room. I would put it this way. I give more room for consideration as to why people would end up making the bad decisions and take the positions against the community that they take. So it's not to justify or excuse, but just to understand how they get there. So my thing was, I don't want to see, my initial position is I don't want to see any Black people going to prison. So working back from that point, I would not want to turn to young Black people who have no control over the conditions they're growing up in, have no control over the industry that selects and promotes what form of the art it wants, and have no ability to conquer any national narrative, who are then held up by any segment of the society, usually the bourgeoisie of any background, as the reason why society isn't advancing, and then therefore punished as a result. So I don't, that general apparatus that's at play here, I have a major problem with. But I do agree with what Diallo was saying earlier, that there is this conscious effort among particularly a Black bourgeois or attempting to be a classicist approach, where they're saying only care about, like, they only drag in issues of racism or the national Black oppression when they need it for their own benefit. And then they return right back to parlaying that into a comfortable life, working against the struggles of the people. So I get all, but I did want to say that again, this is why if Mike and others were more honest, they wouldn't just say I was moved to chills when I heard Ice-T. They would also remind, as some of us of that age can remember, that there was not just Ice-T at that time talking about crack sales and running from the police, as I think Diallo was pointing out. There was a whole array of other forms of music that my generation has watched get suppressed and written out of history that Mike and them don't want to acknowledge, because they are themselves trying to create, as Diallo I think was right in saying, this idea that by the time you get to look at to critique me, I grew up in the Reagan era. I supported what I saw being said in my community on rap tracks, and I'm now just doing the same thing. So when I rhyme about what I rhyme about and say what I say, I am a mouthpiece, politically speaking, of the community that should be taken as such. And it's nonsense. And very lastly, I just want to point to, again, because I was talking about it the other day, Greg Tate's essay. I remember a lot of great stuff he wrote, but in that early 2000s, I want to say the Village Voice essay, where he was talking about the rise of 50 Cent, and saying 50 is rising on a career, talking about a lifestyle that is diminishing within the Black community, that is crack sales, violence, and all this other stuff. So where is the discussion of other things happening in the community? And that's, of course, the point, that we're not allowed to have other versions of Blackness rapped about in popular media targeting mostly white consumers and a white political apparatus. So it's just more silliness.
So Diallo, where should the placement of music should be? So again, centering the article, how important it is to elevate artists and people with some level of talent whose goal is to reach Black youth, recruit them into organization or into a party that is, radical that is more concerned about changing material conditions. Like, how big of a role should art be? Like, I know we talked about the movie and we probably shouldn't be teaching Black history through movie, but how big of a role you think artists?
Geechee, you take me back to my undergrad political science essay questions, where I used to have to read the question.
Maybe that's what people at.
And I'll write half the essay and then go back and read the question. And it's just 60% of your grade. Okay, your questions are just too powerful, I guess. But the role of music or the role of the arts are central. The role of arts and music and culture are as important as the role of intellect and scholarship and guns and weapons and organizing and community. It is essential. And you don't have a prominent or successful or sustained revolution without revolutionary culture, without revolutionary arts. So I do value art. I don't tear down art. Like I said, and some of our greatest revolutionaries have been artists. Some of our greatest scholars have been artists and vice versa. We're curators. I mean, I went to see Mackey's library, and his music library, his collection of jazz albums was as important and intricate to him as his collection of scholarly works, articles, and texts. So I don't take my hostility for ball chasers and minstrels as being a someone who does not appreciate the value of the arts and the essential necessity of arts in revolution, transformation, and not only uplifting and cultivating the consciousness of our people, but inspiring us to advance and to maintain the struggle. And that's why I have vitriol for people who take African arts and bastardize them and dilute them and create them for the essential goal of feeding Black misery to white folks, curating Black suffering for the entertainment of the white masses, which is because gangster rap did not reflect the hood. My hood, my poor Black crack ravaged community had people like Vester and Rip, who would go in around the neighborhood and find old electronics and old broken stereos and and make remote control cars and just making all these electronic devices out of discarded tech. There was comic book nerds. There were all kind of people living in poverty, and in all the hoods I lived in, all the housing projects that we moved to, it's one time in my childhood, I went to 5 different public schools in 1 year because of the instability, the poverty, predatory landlords and housing HUD system. And every single neighborhood, the people out here toting gats that the rappers rap about always represented a small fraction of the people in my communities, a very small fraction. And even those people had quite diverse lives, had moments of immense clarity, intellect, talent, and even humanity and concern for those they had to concern from, even though they were engaged. So it is disgusting to me that since the 80s, we got these coon-ass minstrel sellouts selling Black misery for white consumption, pretending that, oh yeah, I'm just reflecting what goes on in the street. They distort what goes on in the street, and they perpetuate the worst elements of the street. They don't show the whole picture of the streets. So they are race traitors and sellouts in my book. And even if you go back, you go get the early NWA and the Posse. For every gangster song on there, they had some jokey song. I got a fat girl. Remember Fat Girl? And they had break beats and electronic dance music. They only leaned into the gangster shit. They only leaned into the hood shit because they were like, that's what white folks are buying. But we put out a single of a joke and throwaway song. We put out a single of break beats. This is something to dance to. Nobody wants it. But when we put out that, Panic Zone. I couldn't think of the name. They had Panic Zone. I got a fat girl on my jock. They had all this fun music. And then they had, Dope Man and Boys in the Hood. And that's what the white folks were like, wow, white people suffer, black people suffering, Asian people suffering, Native Americans suffering. They are pain vampires. They are painitarians. If you look throughout colonialism, the colonial and settler colonists, the oppressive classes have always sought out media to show the worst of their victims, or showing their victims engaged in the behaviors that is inflicted upon them. They're the cannibals. They're the thieves. They're the immorals. They're the rapists. They loved seeing media that demonstrated that the people that they were subjecting to inhumane treatment are actually the sources and the producers of inhumane treatment. And so any African person with any lick of talent that engages in that is a race traitor. And I don't think we hold them to account enough. I think we make too many fucking excuses for these people who are literally Pied Pipers of genocide. Can you imagine a Jewish artist under the Nazi regime putting out music that articulates every stereotype that the Nazis put against the Jews? Yeah, I'll short you on some money. I love rat-infested slums, and just rapping and just making music that validates every fucking stereotype, every lick of propaganda that Goebbels ever conceptualized against their targeted population. I don't think the accounting has been done for that. The body count, the prison cells. And we sitting here trying to, how do we get these workers a break?
So are you saying because of the interactions or the intersection between politics and culture, these race traders, class traders are being used to co-opt resistance, and that's why they in particular shouldn't get any type of pass? You should give them.
I think being used is overused. They enthusiastically campaign to get chosen to engage.
Yeah, but it's still being used, all right?
I don't know. Can you say a co-conspirator is being used?
It's not, that's where we disagree. They're not co-conspirators. And they're not conscious of this either. They're not. That's the part I don't agree.
Because when I sat down and wrote, "Life ain't nothing but bitches and money," we roll like a rat pack and kill a nigga for nothing at all. One less nigga I gotta worry about. I sit down and write. I don't know what I'm writing. Oh Lord. Bless
that's
me.
Not,
I'm so
in part, I'm not saying that in part that is my point. In part, they're writing that because either
consciously unconscious.
They're being encouraged to that by an environment that they've grown up in. Jeez. They're being told that this is the pathway to do it, consciously or not. So they're following a pattern that's been set for them. And that's where and I think from the point of an analysis, if we don't address ourselves to that at some point, we're always going to be confused. It's not enough to just call out the traders and the sellouts and the compradors and that. It's important at some point to understand the process that's producing that behavior, and the even the implanting, the embedding the consciousness that makes them think that this is what I would want to do and produce. So, so I don't think that, and it's not an equal playing field. We're talking about largely young people without power coming out of wildly oppressive conditions versus people with all the resources and all of the age, resource, and power to promote and produce the kinds of culture that they mine and encourage. So, they're not equal partners and compradors.
Every single, my wife would say to me all the time, she was an English teacher years back at the height of the drill music, when Chicago was the mecca for hip hop, where drill music, everybody was either wanted to be a drill rapper or had some imitation. And she said to me, every single one of these students that is aspiring to be a rapper, every single one of them has a book of conscious progressive songs or poems, every single one of them. And they had the shit they put out, and they had the shit they would write when they were at home or in detention or just had some time to themselves. She said not to a person, because being the English teacher, she had access to the rhyming dictionaries, and she had access to things that the young aspiring artists wanted. And when she was like, this is really good, this is conscious, this is why you got all this conscious, thoughtful, mindful, heartfelt material and poems that you wrote, but every time you get in the studio, you come with this murder, death, kill shit. And they would say, this shit ain't gonna sell. I had homeboys who were DJs and promoters. So it's not an unconscious thing. That's what I'm saying.
It's still being led, though. Incentivized and led.
Yes, they are being incentivized and led, and they're choosing those incentives and to go that direction.
But again, they're making choices based on the choices that are made available to them to make. This is part of the false appearance of selection and choice that power constructs to create the false consciousness that people are making a conscious decision when they're choosing what has been predetermined from them in the first place. So that's the point I keep trying to make.
I don't know
and
how
then,
you
of
missed
course,
that, though.
But it seems to me that when we were talking about last week, Umar and immigration, the point is more clear that it's not the immigrants, it's the people doing the hiring and the manipulation of the conditions in people's home countries that lead them to make the decision to migrate that should be the focus, not that they're taking our jobs. It's the same logic I'm arguing for here, that the choices are arrayed for them, particularly, again, young, unpolitically educated, largely desperate people. If you say to them, door A is rich and fame, and door B is your same poverty, of course they're going to choose A.
Okay,
the job for us as organizers and activists and educators is to inform people that the choices in front of them are prescribed and are not the full array that is
you know what I want. Real quick. Real quick. Slow down one second. You had the mic forever.
I came out the gate and I said, I can't speak on these mumble neck tattoo rappers. We've got 5 decades of hip hop now. So we got hip hoppers that are grandparents. So we're not just talking about these young, we got gangster rappers who have given songs, detailed songs about the rape, murder, and mutilation of Black women. We got Too Short and all these rappers are in their 50s, gray hair just like us. And they still on that bullshit. So it's obviously not just a young problem. And rappers who have enough money where they don't ever have to work or answer a phone or sign a contract again. They got enough money to coast on. How do you explain that they perpetuate this bullshit?
The star system.
And when you say it's these young people who had no options, what about these old rappers, these old wealthy people who got all the options they could pay for? How do you explain that?
The star system. So that's the whole point of creating the star system, so that people have to recreate their stardom to stay there. So to stay quote unquote relevant and famous, you have to recreate the same illogic that got you there. That's why when Drake had his Joe Budden exchange, I thought it was very valuable. When Lewis Gordon has that line about perpetual adolescence that is forced upon the colonized. That's why Snoop would be rhyming largely the same way after 50 years as would Jay-Z and anybody else, because to recreate the stardom and stay in, you have to constantly do that. So when Drake said to Joe Budden in response to Budden saying, how are you going to be in your late 30s rhyming to children? Drake was honest and said, I rhyme to children because that's what keeps me in a first class, in a private jet, while you apparently occasionally get first class.
Deliberate.
No, but it's deliberate within an array of options that people have been taught are their only options. Drake has not, to my knowledge, gone through any politically educational, radical, interruptive moment. He's also been told these are your only options. It's the same exercise from time to time I will do in the classroom. And I'll just say, if you pick the number I'm thinking between 1 and 10, I'll give you an A and you can leave. And after they exhaust all their options, I'll say that the answer was 2 million. And then they'll say, but you didn't tell us that. You said stay within 1 and 10. And I'm saying that's the point. When you tell Drake, even as he approaches 40, the only way you stay famous is by rhyming to children. Yes, he's making a more informed at this age or whatever choice. It's not the same, but he's repeating the process that got him there because he thinks that is the only option. So it's, again, I'm not trying to excuse everyone, and I'm not trying to say that as one gets older, they have no right, we have no right to criticize. But I am trying to, if the question is why do they keep doing that, the answer is not because they're making a fully informed, conscious decision. That's just not how it works.
So I know we have real quick, Diallo. One second, Diallo. Can you give me 1 second, Diallo? Can you give me 1 second? 1 second. So I know we haven't brought on people in a while, but I wish, and I'm pulling up this in particular because so when Diallo says something, there's people who say, "Oh, I agree with Diallo," and this whole concept of politically soft. I would want to bring one of these people on to argue the point that they think Diallo is saying, and I'm almost willing to bet that Diallo will even disagree with him. Because sometimes there's just be things that's said that be thrown out there. I don't even hear a one moment of somebody saying being political soft on developing an analysis or sharing an analysis about how something come to be. That has nothing to do with being politically soft. And nobody's arguing to run cover for Mike or run cover for whoever the hell these artists are. So again, I don't, as Jared perfectly point out, last week, the same thing that you're arguing against is something you agreed to last week. That's it.
I would caution people against agreeing with me in the chat because when you hate on me, you can just do it freely without being called out. But if you articulate your with me, so I just want to give that.
We done ran cover for you. We done ran cover for you being hate on too. So stop that.
Oh wow.
Anyway. This guy's. I know he smoked. I think he smoked more than he give himself credit for because I know he be smoking.
Smoke at all.
As Cam and May say, your spin game is remarkable, my man. You got a grade spin, Diallo. That was great.
Listen to me. It's very curious to me that we've been plagued by traitors, and we the only people who have all these naive.
No. But check.
Where a motherfucker could be walking around worth $800 million and be 50 years old, and we still talking about they don't know no better. That shit is wild to me.
I didn't say that.
So
when you,
like,
I just was
like
watching.
Erica said they are a class, and we need class consciousness. And
didn't he just go to me?
We need class antagonism. I do understand the machinations of our oppressors. And I do understand people falling victim to our oppressors, but I also understanding people volunteering to step up to play the role. And just like there are people.
Notice how I said the same thing Jared said, but it's pointless.
Who run to treason.
Oh no, we can all find the negatives. Look, I'm an apologist. So look, what yeah, we really, there's many examples lately of our crisis of methodology around here lately, but this would be another one. So like I just happened to finish watching one of the YouTube channels I watch does all this stuff about spies, and they break down the history of spies primarily against the US who get caught. And granted, these are our political enemies, but I think there is value in when the CIA and the FBI apparently suffer intelligence breaches, they do self-assessments and criticism instead of just punishing the spy and
Oh,
at
he's not a
times,
spy. He was just
excuse me, Diallo,
confused.
excuse me, Diallo.
Diallo,
Instead of just punishing the spy and just calling them out as traitors and just destroying their lives as punishment, they perform assessments. What went wrong in producing this person? What incentives were used to get this person to work against the state? How were they manipulated? What can we do as an entity to preempt future collapses of our integrity? And that's it's in that vein that I'm approaching this exact issue. It is not to again, it is not to say that these individuals are not performing the behavior of traitors, et cetera, whatever Diallo's calling them. It is
Not
to
the
say
behavior of traitors.
or whatever they are, you could call them whatever but the point is, if you want to be a successful entity, in this case, a Black community or a Black revolutionary community, there has to be an actual objective assessment of what led to that
100%.
breach.
I agree with you.
Wait a
Gary,
minute, Diallo. So when I attempt to do that and am dismissed as politically soft or an apologist, all that suggests to me is the insufficient levels of analysis, organization, and concern for self that exists in those critiques.
Jared, you just so far ahead of us, because my argument was just to establish that they are traitors, infiltrators, and spies.
Who didn't know that?
I in no way would argue against trying to critique ourselves as a community or as a people who've been betrayed, and even understanding the motivations, the foundations, and the rewards or consequences of the traitor. I agree with all that, because my issue was, can we first establish that these motherfuckers are traitors and not just wayward children who were tricked, that sold us out and stabbed us in the back collectively by accident? Anti-African propaganda.
You just contradict. That's the spot where you contradict yourself because you're trying to now.
Traitor. Wait. I'm not contradicting myself. What you're saying is well, they are traitors. They are race traitors. But now let's analyze how they came to be a race traitor and how the community should carry it, right? But we can land on the fact that this is treasonous, correct?
Diallo, could you make your argument?
Before we do all that, we have to determine whether or not we're gonna call them traitors and spies and infiltrators or not.
But at the point I was attempting to step in, the point I'm saying where you contradict yourself is that you start describing them as having made conscious decisions and conscious choices, and they're therefore just defined in total as traitors, which precludes the analysis or that I'm trying to.
Can you be an unconscious traitor?
That's
Can
not
you
again.
Betray
You're doing. That's
by
not
accident.
Let me.
That's not what I'm saying. Is it is fault. Well, again, this is the part where you're contradicting yourself and then me while saying we're saying the same thing in two different two different components. It's very difficult to do this with all the interruptions. It's very difficult to do this. So when what I'm saying is that you are wanting to stop it at the definition of the act, and I'm trying to get us to look at, and when you say that they've made a conscious choice, I am disagreeing with you that what we are calling conscious choices, it's insufficient to call them conscious choices without looking at what processes lead to someone thinking this is an actual choice for me to make. So it's not apologetics, it's not soft, it's actual. If anything, it's a more difficult challenge. And if I were to use the language of some of the detractors like Shaka in the chat, I would say if you were truly a warrior and truly confident in your ability, you would look beyond the surface level behavior of any one individual and look at the processes that produce that behavior if you really want to deal with what is causing the problem in the first place. So that's really all I'm attempting to say here. I don't really have a problem with anything else that's being said. You know,
Diallo, can your argument about willful or not knowing, could that be applied to how people engage with capitalism in the U.S.? How their understanding of capitalism and how they engage in it. Are they willfully making a choice, or are they misinformed about capitalism?
See, there's different levels to this shit. Capitalism involves the workers, the producers, the owners. So what class under capitalism are you referring to? Because the Black community also has distinct classes. So, and sometimes you can speak about the group as a whole, but sometimes you can say one thing about one group within that system, and that doesn't apply to another group within that system. So if I'm speaking about capitalism, capitalism harms humanity. It is disrupting. It is destroying ecosystems, polluting our bloodstreams, and it doesn't matter whether it's Elon Musk or Bro Diallo. There are certain impacts of capitalism that affect us all. But then there are other people who are proponents of capitalisms, profiteers within capitalisms, and have every incentive to sustain in their own sigmas to sustain the systems and institutions. Others of us are simply trying to navigate the system. We do not live off of profit. We do not exploit or live off the labor of others. And we do not set up systems and infrastructures, our own infrastructures that cause the degradation of the planet's ecosystems and the exploitation of other people's labor. So the person who buys an iPhone is not making the contribution to the exploitation of the Congo the way that the person, the multinational corporation and institutional investors and the mercenaries and the soldiers. So I am well aware that there's levels to this shit. And I do not put any type of accusation or put any burden on anyone at any level of this system that they have not earned or they are not due. I'm very clear in my critique. So when I'm talking about the rappers, I know the rappers did not create Black oppression. I do not say that the rappers are responsible or even perpetuated, because if every gangster rapper became a De La Soul tomorrow, the systems and institutions of white hegemony and capitalism will continue their campaign of genocide against us. But when the various tactics, agendas, and methodologies of oppression are enacted on us, there's three things any African can do: resist, submit, or cooperate. Whether it's colonization or the fucking anti-African propaganda murder music. So we can look at the people who, all three of us suffer from it. The Africans who submit, the Africans who resist, and the Africans who participate in the oppression. We all suffer, but we all play different roles. And the intensity and scope of that suffering may vary according to where you are and how you engage in your level. So I am one who resists. I have sympathy and solidarity with those who have submitted or simply navigating without options. But I have utter fucking ire for those who betray us, for traitors. We are a people who have suffered for decades under some of the most blatant forms of treason, and we talk and engage the least about treason. We have traitors in our midst who are not fooled or tricked or lack options, who deliberately and consciously say, hey, I'm not about to sit in coach. I'm a go private jet. I want this Bentley. And whatever I got to do to get it, I'm going to get it, even if it means stepping on my people or contributing to contributing to the agendas of my people's oppressors.
But we're not investigating what makes them think those are their only choices.
It's hard not to kill niggas.
So everything what you just said is you're missing my point. And you've gone on for a very long time. I'm not speaking
on your point, Jerry.
But you are. You just said. But that's the point I'm making. But that's the point I'm making.
I'm responding to Geechee's inquiry. But if you
for a long time, but that is my point where we disagree. But that's where we disagree, Diallo. That at a certain point, we do have to step back and say, why is someone saying I'm willing to do whatever I got to do, even against the interests of my own people? Not to justify it, but to understand why they think that's an option. And that's not, that's, I think, important if we want to understand what's going on and actually get rid of it.
Man, listen. My racial, you harm my, like Kwame Ture said, you mess with my people. Don't mess with my people. You can do a lot of shit. There's so much shit I can excuse from black people in this system. So many ways that black people utilize to get ahead in this system that I will turn a blind eye to if I'm not cheerleading you. But one thing I cannot abide is compounding our oppression for your own personal profit. I can't abide it.
What do you have a statement that helps you formulate your words as excuse? Like, what did Jared or anybody say that sounds like you are excusing?
I think we are mistaken, and I think I respect Jared's position. As he said, we do disagree. I am not so inclined to think. I understand the brilliance of black people, and I understand why other people fear our brilliance. And I understand the systems of exploitation, the deep systems of indoctrination and propaganda. But one thing I will say that when a brother gets to a certain level in this game, in that game, I can no longer give you that consideration or that you maybe or somehow you lack options. I just don't agree with that. Even when we had the discussion about military enlistment and those others, I don't accept the no options argument coming from as a youth who had no options. I just don't accept it. I wish it was that. I wish it was simply, they just not educated enough. And if we could just get a line to them, if we can get a word to them, fucking Ice Cube set shoulder to shoulder with Khalid Muhammad, had Khalid Muhammad on his records. And when he saw that his sales started tanking, he went back to yeah. That's conscious and deliberate sellout. That ain't I had no option.
I see a bunch of wild comments, yo. Niggas is in here talking about wishy-washy liberals. And we about to share this chat, yo. Share the link, but yeah, we should wrap up soon anyway.
No, I have no interest at this point of hearing more from Shaka. So maybe next week, but we're 3 hours in. I don't need for Shaka or anybody else. I've just responded to him with all that needs to be said.
Never let a traitor go unpunished. We incentivize.
Again, I agree.
Incentivize is selling us out.
After the punishment, but after the punishment, there has to be an assessment of what led to the breach.
What's the punishment, though?
Absolutely, I'm with you on that.
So then, what are we? So then, there's been no need for a back and forth or for people in the chat to misrepresent my name or my argument. Because that's the only part. Because the only thing I said that we disagree on is the emphasis on what leads to the betrayal, and that's all I've been arguing for. So I'm not really clear how, unless they are themselves soft-thinking liberals, how my argument could be reduced to liberalism. But that's okay. At the end of the day,
brought all these people to us, man.
And I ain't victim blame. If we going back to the comments, I only have a few more minutes. But are we going? Can we run the comments before we?
Yeah, let's run that quick Q&A and head on out.
All right. Thanks to SPC Ghost. Are you going to do this or am I doing it?
No, go ahead. You go ahead.
All right. Kenyatta missed the first hour. Thanks for the program. Thanks for this. Ricky, I screamed at his previous grift though, because he was a spokesperson for mental health, talking about your boy Charlemagne.
Yeah, he's
Culture 88, thank you for the super chat. Can we talk about the contradictions of the uses of, I'm assuming, radical thought symbols by artists in the fine art world?
I mean, again, even if we're not talking about the fine art world, the thing that got me blocked from Charlemagne's account is when he sit in the wicker chair like he was Huey P. Newton and then act like he don't know what was going on, what he was doing.
You done lost that line of communication?
I mean, that line of communication was already gone every time.
Did you promise Jared you could get him on the Breakfast Club? Did you know he lost that line?
I already shared why. Jared already know why he ain't going on the damn Breakfast Club. But yeah, so no, I do think those, even with the brother on that show just now who had the Black Panther Party sweater. Like I do think
I'm gonna
that's
stop
a.
being so nice to you now that I know you're not connected
Oh,
connected
okay.
anymore.
I ain't connected over there.
Greg
Oh,
Levy,
you still
thanks for
got
the
connected.
super
Okay,
chat.
okay. I'll start being.
Shout out to Kamal, who came to Cleveland yesterday for a chat at CSU Law School. He was a gentleman. Dr. Ball, you're next. EYL
Which Kamal you talking
live
about?
show in Cleveland.
Our
Kamal
Kamal.
Franklin,
I mean, because there's so many
Kamal. What other?
Kamals in the culture. I
There's
mean,
only
that's
one
what I
Kamal.
think
Stop
is.
playing. There's
Hey,
only one
listen.
Kamal.
If we do
There's only one Kamal.
if we do a show in Cleveland, we gotta have an after party at Shaker Heights. So they don't. You might have to take us to Shaker Heights.
Every time we get invited somewhere, y'all say or do something to get us uninvited.
We should hurry up and move on before Greg cuts us off from Cleveland. Ricky says, I checked with that already with the demonetization. We should be good on that. Coco's asking, why is it a grift?
The mental health.
The mental health one?
One of you highlighted this. I didn't highlight it, so I'm assuming that's.
I would never.
Nobody highlighted it.
Coco said.
Diallo did. I can tell.
No, I did not. Or did I? I don't know.
I mean, but yeah, he definitely did a mental health grift. That's definitely. I mean, even
but why is it a grift?
So here, even a Shook One's book. Like I didn't read it, and people in the community read it. There's a lot of wild shit he's saying there that he never even engaged in. And for a while, he's been saying that he's the face of mental health, and there's a bunch of reasons why. Like I think some things that became out public. I think, Kwame Brown is from where we're from as well. Whenever he on public television talked about Kwame daddy and what happened and why his mother murdered, like it's just a bunch of shit that he exposed people to, that if he really cared about mental health, he wouldn't be trying to damage the mental health of Kwame Brown, the sisters who got some stories about him. Like, so it's a complete.
Or just when he attacked that woman, said she had big back energy.
I mean, I don't know. You just named it. And his whole career started off of that.
And then he came out and was like, I didn't mean to disturb her peace in his apology.
Yeah. So we did pull up a thing where he said his life mission is to,
get paid,
uplift mental health,
right.
uplift mental health. So yes, in his words and in his efforts, he was at the time, but now he's not there anymore. That grift already ran out, and now it's time for him to be the political pundit of the year.
But that's only till the election. I'm sure he'll be on to something.
No, I mean he's actually been in the political lane for quite some time now.
Really?
He's been being invited to some shit for at least 5 years now.
Well, he blocked you, so you should leave him alone.
I don't
El
bother.
Choncho, Diallo is always liberal on guns.
Yes. No, I'm actually conservative on guns. Liberal on guns means you want everybody and their mama to be open carry everywhere all the time. I'm actually quite conservative when it comes to guns. I support sensible gun regulation. So we got terms liberal and conservative messed up, but I can see why he said that. So yeah, I'll take that. I am liberal when it comes to guns. I'm a bleeding heart, tree hugging liberal when it comes to guns.
Did he take that?
We got to have a big celebration to bury the Killer Mike discourse like they did to bury the N-word. Public opinion is turning on Mike. Our job is done.
Is it though?
Is it? I did see that. I when? What turned the public opinion? Was it the Cop City stuff?
Because if they are turning against, I'm about to become a Cuddly Mike supporter because you know how I do. I'm gonna do that because that's just how I am. people turning against Cuddly, my man.
We have to stop caring about these
That's just the way I am.
Was this meant to say traditions, traders?
Caring about these class
tradition. Oh,
I didn't highlight that. Who highlighted that? Traders. We have to stop caring about these class traders. Okay.
Yeah,
just assuming. I didn't highlight that.
Yeah, that was it.
Ricky saying the implications would be on his fans and people in colonized communities. These are the ones getting swept up in this. Those are the ones getting swept up in this.
I don't know what you're talking about.
She's talking about like the critique of Killer Mike and the artist and how Diallo and his fans are saying we're soft on the artist, but she's kind of centering the people who are impacted by these grifters, clowns, class traders.
More like this. For every thug case, there's like 10 kids in the Bronx facing RICO.
Yes.
Class traders should be called out and challenged.
Which happens.
Agree with that? Yeah, we have no problem with that. Musa again. Cubans revolutionaries say the artist got to put down the paintbrush and pick up the gun when time
I don't know.
comes.
Some of these artists you probably prefer they keep the paintbrush. I mean, if they do, let them be out way in front of me. I know some artists even here in Chicago. Please clench that paintbrush with both hands.
Oh
See,
man,
Don't give me the gun.
I understand the sentiment, but
He said, "Don't give me the gun. You know what I'm gonna do with it."
Goddess Crew said y'all dragging. The question isn't long. I didn't highlight this. What were we dragging?
I highlight. You know when Diallo says something, you know, it's gospel to the people. He's talking about my long question, but it was good enough. And also, there's another point to where I'm often cut off by Diallo, so sometimes I feel like I gotta rush and have the hurry and get a word in before. So.
because I be saving y'all from yourselves. Y'all gonna look back on this as like, man, I'm so glad he stepped on my sin and he stopped.
But I thought you were atheist. You don't need to be saving nobody, you atheist. Keep going, Jared.
Hey,
The only thing that has ever saved anyone is another person. Shoot, that's the only thing
Troy
that can
Ballard,
and will save you.
Speaking of jazz albums, Jab, I would still like to buy some of your Godfather's collection. Troy, you better hurry up. Reach out, hurry up. The collection is extensive, but it's going fast. Goddess Crew, relax on Geechee's questions. Niggas barely let him talk. He trying to fit it all in before he gets cut off.
Yeah, that's
I
what
just said that. Thanks
Yeah,
for
yeah,
the
that's
super
what
chat.
Have
Word
a
from the
coffee
point.
already.
Del Jones, Dance at the Elders, the
Dance.
#1 album.
The Elders. I got copies of that album. Anybody that want one, holla.
There you go, holla.
Dance.
Arlene Chambers, thanks for the super chat. 100% Diallo. I grew up in Chicago, South Side. It wasn't like that until folks started trying to emulate gangster life based on music.
Man, it was all good in the hood. Wasn't even no poverty, nothing. We just chose to live in the ghetto until gangster rap.
Jean Lamont Films, Diallo out here victim blaming.
Oh, you're just gonna let that stand? On to
I
the
didn't
highlight
highlight it.
See
So
how
I
y'all
didn't.
do?
I mean,
Well, who was that? Who was that?
Jean Lamont Film. I didn't highlight this. So who highlighted it?
I did.
Diallo.
Oh, well then go ahead.
I gotta defend that. I can't
you
rest
want
on
us?
my
You want us?
partners. Partner. Okay, I'll be bishop in this crew.
No, I wouldn't have described what you're doing as victim blaming. I just think you're not going far enough with the analysis. That's all.
Thank you. Okay, I'll accept that.
That's it.
I told
So-
you
see?
was out ahead of me because it was some shit I hadn't worked out. We all ain't on the same reading level. You got to make room for
Okay.
everybody in the
That was
classroom.
slick.
So
That was slick.
I was trying to just get one thing locked in while you was already down the street. So yeah, thank you for acknowledging that, Jared.
Musa says, I don't understand why it's an either or and not both things are true. People can have nominal agency within a colonial system, even if it's expressed in a way that supports the system. In fact, I think that's what I was trying to, I didn't highlight that, but I didn't, that's what I was, I think, trying to say. I'm not saying either. I'm being positioned by particularly some in the chat as saying it's either or. But I'm certainly in agreement with that for the most part, I think, yeah.
I unite with that as well.
That's why I highlighted it.
To bring us all back into unison, Ricky, they are a class, Diallo.
I agree.
I didn't highlight this.
And they are an enemy class. They are a hostile class. They are a predatory and exploitative class. Just calling them a class. What kind of class? You got to classify the class. What is the class's classification?
Leah getting enjoyment from our back and forth. Well, I just laughed at the excuse me.
We're not here to entertain. We're here to teach. She ain't.
You woman, you. My God, I swear each week is being preached at by Diallo. I didn't highlight this. Who highlighted this? Is this a compliment or a critique?
I did. That's not a
I don't
compliment.
understand what she said. I'm gonna take it as offense.
That's definitely you should. Preacher Diallo. He hate preachers, but he be preaching.
Master
Passionate
Chief.
rebellion. Geechee's point is that don't start that again. Geechee's point is that people are conditioned to these systems of oppression to act a certain way, and he was drawn on how capitalism works. You highlighted that, Geechee, because someone agreed with you?
Of course.
Damn right.
Okay.
I gotta counter some of Diallo's sycophants.
KT Edwards, this sounds like a shift in Diallo's original argument. Who highlighted
I'm
that?
evolving.
Same thing.
I'm constantly growing. I ain't stagnating.
MW, thanks for the super chat. Are y'all familiar with Billy Woods or is his group Armand Hammer? Both very dope NYC, DC-based leftist hip-hop acts. Woods is the son of revolutionary who was instrumental in decolonizing Zimbabwe. I'm not familiar with either one.
Me neither. I'm about to get there.
Yeah, me too. Thanks for the heads up. Thanks for that. Thanks for the super chat, Culture 88. Theater Gates is the Killer Mike Andy Young of Chicago. Theaster Gates. Is that somebody's name? Sorry. Theaster Gates.
He's a mover and a shaker.
Mike. Okay.
He's a mover and a shaker here. Don't be, hey, let us handle Chicago business. But Theaster, he's out of University of Chicago. He's a big mover, cultural curator.
Cam Doogie, welcome and thanks for gifting 5 BPM memberships. Thank you very much. Good luck.
Man, that's just going to encourage laziness amongst our audience. You don't just give people stuff.
All right, good people. Any announcements? Anything before we get out of here?
I'm lazy. Huh?
Yeah.
Anything you want to let folks know about before we get out of here?
I think we're reading this next if it was voted correctly.
Jackson Rising, it's good. It's very good, very, very informative.
Your boy got an opening in here, so we.
Yeah, I asked him about it yesterday. I asked Richard Wolff about his intro yesterday, and I think we had a good. It was short, but I think pretty good discussion about co-ops and their potential. I thought it was important, so folks can check that out if they like. But yeah, anything from you, Diallo? Anything?
Monday, Bro Diallo show. Oh, shout out to everybody. AfricanWorldOrder.com. We do have a partnership with Friends of the Congo. So we do have some specific Congo themed items at African World Order. And when you buy it, all of the proceeds, not a portion, all of the proceeds beyond manufacturing and shipping, all of the proceeds go to the Friends of the Congo and their efforts to thwart that genocide and aid the people suffering. So, but it's just the Congo themed stuff.
Right on. Thanks for that.
So, go to African World Order and peep that and whatever you can do. Haiti is ablaze. So many, just throw a dartboard at the globe and you will find a place where you can get engaged in a cause you can take up for that sector, even if it lands on Antarctica or the Pacific Ocean with all the plastic and shit. So anyway.
Hey, folks, as we get out of here, please rally up for Daruba. If you got a couple dollars, throw him some so he can get some of this medical treatment that he needs. And make sure you ring the bell, like, share, subscribe, join the platform, support all the programs coming up later today, tomorrow, Saturdays with Renee, Warrior Class, Saturday as well, Sundays with Ear Doctor. I'm not sure if we're getting a Darker Than Blue tonight but just make sure you have the bell rung. You don't miss anything. Go ahead. Yeah.
Also, if you're in Atlanta, come out to see Dr. CBS, Red Scare, Black Scare, Auburn Avenue Research Library at 7 p.m. So have the discussion with CBS and come out.
If you're in Chicago, local, we doing local stuff. Holla at me, Ecologic Outreach. We're coming into the spring grow season, grow green everywhere. And you're interested in growing food, even if you just got a small windowsill, you can grow organic anywhere and everywhere. And we can put together some or help you set up a small organic food or herb garden, whether you got front yard, backyard, balcony, or windowsill. So get at me, Ecologic Outreach online, or just contact me directly.
All right. Good job, everybody. Peace if you're willing to fight for it. Like Fred Hampton used to say, we'll see you next week.
You got to earn your liberation.